get our budget meeting started. So this is December 7th, 2023, Nottingham, New Hampshire Budget Committee meeting, and we will start our meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And we'll do our introductions for the note taker and the video. Start with you, Megan.
Hopefully we get the video right.
Hopefully the video
works today. I'm Megan Sabasco, School Board.
Robert Kelly, Budget Committee.
Charlotte Fife, Budget Committee.
John Decker.
Michael Kelly.
Owen Friend Gray.
Thomas Butkevich.
Tim DeBrio, Board of Selectmen.
And would you guys like to introduce yourself too?
Sure. I'm Bill Roy. I'm the Business Administrator for the school district.
All right. Thanks, Bill.
Ronna Hasbrook, Superintendent of Schools.
All right. Thanks, Ronna. Sandra and Jeff are both excused absences tonight. They're not feeling well. We have no meeting minutes from last week. I guess the video file was corrupt and we haven't been able to get them out. Ellen's been trying to get the basics for us to approve, but tech problems. We have no public comments. Much as I'd like to have somebody.
Does it get broadcast on YouTube too, like the school ones do?
No.
I don't know.
No.
It's not like
No,
a live
they
feed.
get
No archives.
posted to
Channel
YouTube,
12 or
I
whatever,
guess.
that Comcast channel.
They get posted.
They do get posted
afterwards,
too.
but it's not live broadcast.
All right. So I guess we'll hand the meeting over for you guys. So this is our first look at. I guess we've been through the default budget. Look at that. This is our first kind of view of the proposed budget. We usually go line by line, compare, differences from last year and this year, and ask a bunch of questions. That's what we do. So, floor is yours.
I also think Sue Levinson should be coming, I believe, as well as a budget and school board member to answer any questions if needed to.
She just called, but I didn't have service to answer it. So
Yes,
that's
from this building. It's like the
Welcome
zone.
building.
Yeah, right.
I tried.
No, it's fine.
Okay.
Thank you so much for having us, and we're going to do our best with the new process. We both have experience with budget committees and budgets in different places, and we want to do our best to meet your needs and provide you with the information that you expect. Wanted to go through, you met Bill. Bill joined us in mid-September, and we were in the process of still filing our MS-22 and going through documents, as unfortunately our current Mr. Campo became ill late in the spring and hadn't been in the office since May. So Bill jumped in the middle of building a budget, trying to close out the end of last year, and filing our MS-22, and has done a great job. So one of the reasons why some of the budget lines have been moved around, looking to be compliant, as we were also filing our MS-22, huge lift, but it helped us to organize things for state reporting in a way that was coherent and to be compliant. Oh, and we also had the auditors here around about the same time for our 23 audit. So as it was a big lift, it was also really helpful for us to get things aligned in a way that they would also like to see. So hopefully that will be helpful for you as well. One of our biggest budget drivers this year is an increase in our insurance due to the increase in the GMR, and I believe it was 0.002 for health insurance last year, and it's gone up to 13.1.
It was 0.02 for last year.
0.02, excuse me. I added an extra zero. 0.02 last year. 0.002 would have been fantastic, but 0.02 last year, and it's gone up to 13.1 this year. Fortunately, with the planning that you all had, several people did opt for the buyout plan, so that significantly helped us. I know that we were more fortunate than some other districts that had even more significant increases up to 21%, but it doesn't make it any less painful. But I think some good planning on your part helped to lessen that. That was one of our largest drivers, and we're going to talk more about it in detail, looking at the overall budget increase at the present moment of 4.29. So we'll go through the functions and so you can see where we are, but I think it's really significant knowing that huge increase at where we landed at this present moment. And I'm going to pass to Bill, and we'll go back and forth on different components of the budget.
So one thing I want to highlight before we begin is, if you were to look at the very last page of the budget, it looks like 4.24%. That is just for the general fund. And then the food service fund, it has its own. I didn't realize until after these were all printed, I wanted to be very consistent, that typically you had food service and general fund combined on the same report. So next time we meet, I think it was on the 21st, they'll be combined onto one. So that way when you see your increase or decrease or whatever the numbers are gonna be, they're gonna be the combined numbers together.
Why were we doing it separately?
Well, why was I?
No. I know it's been done that way in the past. Why, is there a reason they were doing it that way?
No, they did it combined in the past.
Oh.
They did,
It's always at the end though.
They had food service in general together. I'm used to it where one fund is by itself, another fund is by itself. So that's the way I had originally set up, but then when going through the book, I realized they were combined, because I was trying to figure out where the net increase compared to year over year came from. And doing that, I found out that it was food service and general fund combined.
Because we wanted to be able to give you year-over-year comparisons as well.
So just want to highlight that, and also another one, we'll get to it a little bit later, but did create a new function code. It's called 2500. It's usually for business office or fiscal services, so that'll be highlighted as well. Some of those were originally in the 2300 function code, which is SAU administration, but with the state reporting, as you mentioned earlier, it is broken out a little differently. So the numbers don't really change, they just more move to a new area. So that area will look lower, but the 2500 function code is going to be new. So
No new jobs.
no new staff. All right, so we can start at the beginning. Sure.
Overall, there is one new position proposed, and that's the very first one that you will see. And that's because we have a math interventionist that has been funded through the ESSER grant, which expires in September 2024. That math interventionist is based off of student data and performance. Our scores are if you've watched some of the school board meetings, our scores are very good. We've done very well, but an area that we still want to pay attention to would be around 3rd and 4th grade in math scores.
For those grades that, I think I remember hearing the COVID really affected them, was it like 1 or 2 years ago, so they're kind of, I don't know what the word is, but
You look at those students,
Yeah.
those are students that
like across the country, that age group was really hit by the COVID
kindergarten,
shutdowns, right?
kindergarten, 1st, 2nd grade,
And they're still,
they spent not in traditional
Right.
classrooms. So we really want to pay attention to them and look for any unfinished learning or foundational work that wasn't traditional like many of our other students had. So we think that position is really important, particularly with math, because the foundations of math are vital to future math success. So we have put that position into our operating budget.
you said federal funded for how many years?
This is the last year of it. It's
Yeah.
The ESSER funding expires in September 2024.
And then
That's
would-
how we paid for it.
Okay. So it would pay for this position for 1 year, and then it would be salaried next year? No.
It's being paid for this current year,
Mhm.
But we need to add.
And then it goes salaried next year?
yes.
So this is-
It hits
this
our
is-
operating budget.
This is a position that was created because there was ESSER funds available for this new position, right?
For the learning loss.
Yeah.
Right.
The ESSER fund part of the ESSER fund, at least 20% of it is to address learning loss. And that's one way that we've chosen to do it,
Yeah.
So it
based on
was-
their ESSER plan.
For multiple years, there was a math interventionist that had come to the school and was funded out of different versions of ESSER. There were a couple
ESSER 2,
versions, and so that was, the school had determined, one of the things we felt was a good focus for that direct student-facing money was a math interventionist to really target those students. So this would, again, reflect that going forward to retain that math interventionist, but the federal funds have run out for that, so that's the addition.
So we're adding a new position essentially.
Right,
Yes.
basically.
Mhm. So it's a person who is in the building, but is obviously grant funded, so is on a year-to-year.
We're not adding a new position, we're changing how we pay for it. We're paying for it out of the operating.
Right, but when it was added, it was sold as this is free because it's some federal funds, and now it's actually gonna cost us, so.
It wasn't free.
At some point, we have
How
to
we paid
consider
for it.
it, at some point, we have to consider it to be a new position. How many people work at the school total at this point?
Just for teachers, education?
No, it's just all together at the school, how
We'll have
many
to get
employees?
that number for you, I don't have it off the top
Yeah,
of my
no, it
head.
would be good to have it by teacher, by paraprofessional. paraprofessional.
Yeah, we,
And by whatever.
We have, that'll be in the
Probably
vote.
in here someplace.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think the next
So-
note down, right?
Yeah, it says 35,
says
that is including the current math interventionist for next year, the proposed position.
That's
So it's
teachers.
34 currently this year, it would be 35 next year for the regular education teachers.
So wait a second.
Yes.
It was still 35 last year, or the current year, but one is grant funded.
It was 34, it's currently 34 general funded positions.
Okay, so, but it's 30,
Adding
how
in.
many positions are on staff was the question, not,
Not just teachers.
Right, not just teachers, we're gonna get that, and we don't have that information available.
right, but no, when you consider how many positions there are staff-wise, don't say, this one's funded through general fund and this one's funded through this. It's X teachers. You know, think of it
Staff
that
or
way. It doesn't
teachers?
matter where it's funded.
Are you talking about paraprofessionals
No,
as well?
whatever.
or
So
teaching?
if we
No,
have-
not whatever.
If we have 35 teachers, we currently have 35 teachers, right?
Out of the general fund.
He
No,
just,
30,
Well,
35
proposed.
working,
35
35
total
teachers.
teachers. We have 34 from the general fund and one paraprofessional. And
One-
one grant funded. All right, so it's still 35 teachers. Next year, you're not proposing, like you said, you're not proposing an increase in teachers, but what you said, Bill, makes it sound like it is, because you're going from 34 in the general fund to 35 in the general fund. You see what my point?
I do, I'm here to talk about the budget, the proposed budget, so I'm including that in the proposed
But-
budget, that's what the difference would be.
But the proposed budget, I mean, the budget all includes revenues. You know, that's all part of the budget. So you gotta consider, it doesn't matter where it's, and funding is funding. So we get, it's all, it still has to be budgeted for,
Yeah.
whether it's grant funded or general fund funded.
But it's a position that we have on a temporary basis, funded through
Right.
grants to help with unfinished work.
Right, exactly.
It's now being proposed to be a permanent position,
Right,
within the
you're-
general fund.
Yeah, and the point was that when Bill said there's 34 teachers now,
Yep.
and 35 next year, it makes it sound like there's an increase in staff. And I'm just trying to avoid that confusion.
right. I think he means in this line.
Right.
So I think the clarification is that this line note indicates
Right, but. it
increase
was-
in one salary.
Right, but it was more for the, addressing Tom's question of how many employees do we have? You know, it doesn't matter where they're funded from. It's just like, we have
Bodies
this
in the
many
school.
employees, we have this many teachers, we have this many paras, we have this many whatever staff.
Maybe this one will be easier. How many pairs are there?
There, it would say in the
Says right
para
here.
line.
23.
Yeah,
23.
they're right here.
No, so
There's 4 pairs in the general fund,
Four
22
in
regular.
in the
Special education.
special education, that's 26, and I believe
35 regular ed teachers within addition and 4 paraprofessionals. It's all in the notes. You have to read
So I
them.
think, I'll double check the numbers, but I believe it's
26?
26.
And then how many administrative positions are there at the school?
Principal,
Oh,
and
but
the
there's a
assistant
different
principal,
category,
curriculum director,
paras.
student services,
Yeah,
that's
confusing.
4.
But part of them are.
We got a task here, we just don't
Tech
have that
director,
sheet yet.
curriculum director.
Well, he said at the school, so we're talking about.
You
the
got
budget.
guidance counselors.
They're not administrative.
They're
Those are not, those are in the teachers. Well, there's different.
So I suggest we keep going
Are
down
the
line
guidance
by line.
counselors
Yeah,
teachers
let's
or?
just, can we stay on
Everybody,
track here?
everybody, hold up. We're getting all over the place here.
Yeah.
All right, and then what's
Wait,
current
hang on, Tom,
enrollment?
hang on, Tom. Everyone just reset here.
So
Thank you.
I think the request was for the staff list, so I think that's something that we can
Yes.
get to you, a total. You could, the numbers are throughout the budget, so if you wanted to add it up yourself, you could do that as well, but they could probably get it
You just
formalized
manifest
for
like a,
everyone.
yeah, like a total staff list.
I just thought they might know it off the top of their head.
It's a lot
Do you know
of
the
stuff.
enrollment, the current
It's
enrollment?
in here.
It's in there, it's in the tab. I seen that.
Yes, we have our own tab for it.
Excellent.
Could I ask one question, please?
Yes.
So this new position, this was the target second, third graders. Now, once they target those people, I mean, COVID, you know, sort of ended, so this, after like these kids go to 8th grade, will this position go away? Or is this position forever, even though COVID's already passed for these, you know, certain kids over the years?
What I'm saying is that right now, our data shows us that the needs are in 2nd, 3rd, 4th grade. So we will use data each year to determine where the needs of learning are. So that right now, the math interventions are needed primarily in those grades. So it would be, what positions we would recommend to you would be based on the data for those years. So I can't speak to,
In the future.
yeah.
Right, so this
Or
could be.
whether it's
this-
based on COVID or not, because it could just be needs of students.
Okay, all right, so basically, this position was made, driven basically by the COVID, which, the kids were out of school, which I
Yeah, the learning
understand.
loss.
But so, we're at to see it in the future, if this line stays here forever. You know what I mean? That's why this position was made, though, initially, because of that, driven because the
We've
kids
had
were
reading
home.
interventionists. My understanding, you've had reading interventionists for several years. You've had math interventionists in the past.
Yeah, we have them as they're needed, but
Unrelated
Right, this
to-
is like a whole.
unrelated
it sounds like we're
to
baking
Yeah.
in a permanent inadequacy
Right.
in math learning.
I'm not sure that's something we can address in the 25 budget, so I think we should probably stick to that.
Well, what is the total how much does this position cost then?
There's that. The salary, yeah, 46,345.
And how much is it total with all the benefits and fringe and everything like that?
I don't have it broken down as a total. I have it.
In general, what, usually there's a percent you can
number.
multiply by to figure this out.
Isn't that 60 by 920?
No, that's not. That's because that's also.
Those are, it would be, because it's with the other teachers, it's hard to pull out
he
what
said that
specific
much, but
health
I
insurance,
think
if they take a single or a family, those
We
are
can
all
get
very
you that
different
information.
This is here.
Is this a full-time position?
Yes. Currently.
So right now, there's one. We've always had math interventionists. We've got one, and we have 2 reading interventionists. And this was a grant-funded position to add another math person to support the math issues.
Would it be more financially responsible to address the learning problems and the inadequacy in the teaching than to hire a bunch of interventionalists to come in and clean up afterwards?
I think with the math, the steps that have been taken over the years, the programming has been changed out to be a more mastery-based program. So there have been many steps taken, and our math scores are very good. However, with COVID, you do see some unfinished learning, and so it was felt that this role would be important to supplement, to help students one-on-one with their needs.
I mean, it's almost 2024. How many more years are we going to use COVID
So
as an
that's the thing,
excuse?
that's the
Because
thing I
obviously the
think
federal
we-
government decided that it was no longer necessary.
What we should do is just get the.
Actually, there's still
salary.
conversation about what they're going to continue for funding based on student data and student performance, how long they'll feel it necessary to continue to give additional dollars. But I'd like to continue to go down through the
Yeah,
budget.
I think we agree with that. One little thing of housekeeping, just where it says FY 2024 budget, does that refer to the default budget number,
Nope, so that's current, the budget we're in right now?
the one we're in now? And then proposed budget is FY 2025?
Yes.
Yeah, 24, 25, yep.
Okay, and then, so we don't have anything to compare with the default budget then, on this form?
Default's not on this one.
Okay,
Not on this one, but I can make a report for the next meeting.
that's okay, I was just trying to follow the lines here. So current, so where it says FY 2024 is current.
If, this is the updated default, though, if you wanna flip.
It is not the updated default.
This is the old
I
default?
wanted to make sure it was the same one that they got last time.
Okay, so, in general. you
That
can
is
see
in here on the.
If you flip to the next tab is the default,
Okay.
so you could kind of follow along.
Oh, we had to flip that. Okay.
But it's the same default that was presented last time. I didn't want to change anything without explanations.
Yeah, I
So
know.
that'll be it then. the next
Drafts,
meeting.
we're going through drafts, so
Drafts,
that makes sense.
Exactly, yep.
How come the 2024 budget number is different?
Because that's a default budget versus a draft budget.
But it's not the default budget number. The
Of the
1, 2,
24
3,
budget numbers. Oh.
yeah.
Did the position move out of this line?
Because,
2, 3, 6.
That's
because the
24.
default budget has to include collective bargaining agreements.
No, I'm not talking about the default budget. I'm talking the line on the default budget document, the column that is labeled FY 2024 budget.
It's a different number.
That number is different than the 2024 budget line on
You're looking at the
I see what he's talking about.
About $3,000, $4,000 difference.
There's money in there from the additional.
No, it's the actual raised and appropriated. We'd have to look at what the real
Find out what that
should be.
budget line,
Right,
that should
it
be the same number.
3,000
Yeah, it
bucks.
should be
Yeah,
the
that's
same. I don't know what changed between now and then.
Because the one below it's identical.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's weird.
yeah, the other ones are identical.
$3,000.
That's correct.
Find out what it is.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any more comments on salary/teacher position? Great. All right. Moving on. What's next? Salary for paraprofessionals 4.
What's the CBNA increases mean?
Collective
Collective
bargaining.
Bargaining,
Oh, collect, all right, because I keep thinking.
CBNA.
Co-brown.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, collective bargaining agreement.
yes, the
And so-
the N kind of like glosses over.
Is auto, yes. These are the regular ed paraprofessionals.
Okay.
You'll note that we removed the lunchroom recess monitor. That's a position that has not been filled, so we chose not to put that in the budget this year. So that's the
Is it just
11,946.
complete lawlessness anarchy in there?
Absolutely not.
Well,
Good.
Done that duty myself.
No food fights?
We hope not.
It's elementary school.
Not get too ambitious.
Seen that movie.
On the regular education substitute teacher line, we're looking to be more actuals, and the para substitute line and the education substitute line, we separated those so that we could track the para substitutes and the teacher substitutes.
And the para substitute line used to be a tutoring line, but we're just recycling that number, and we just relabeled it. That's why the budget previously used to be $200, but now you're gonna see $6,000, because $200 was for a tutoring line, but the $6,000 is now for the substitute line for the paraprofessionals. Instead of putting all the substitutes in one line, we're breaking it out by position. And health insurance is based on the current plans that staff are on with the increases. As well, we did combine the buyouts and health insurance onto be the same line, because when you're doing reporting, it's considered health insurance. But even though the buyout does come with FICA, so that is accounted for as well.
The same for the paraprofessionals on the next line.
The last line on that page is the dental for the current plans for the teachers.
So that shows it going down, even though the GMR is going up. Does that mean you're anticipating less people taking it, or?
Actually a decrease, wasn't it?
What, yep, that's what he's talking about.
But it says increase.
Well, it's a 4.7% GMR increase. The decrease is because people are not on the plans that they were when the budget was done previously.
Yeah, okay, so you're just anticipating where people are now and pushing
Exactly,
that
yep.
forward? Got it.
As you can see in the actuals of '23, it was actually less than.
Yeah,
was
it looks
budgeted.
lower, yeah.
So if someone just selected a different plan, then.
Yeah, we took.
Than they had the year before or whatever, yeah.
Took it in October, the health trust bill, and I matched everybody up to see what plan they currently were on, which is the plan that we budgeted for.
Got it.
Before we get off the first page,
Yes.
why is the salary, the substitute teacher line, why is that grown almost double in 2 years from the 2023 budget to the 2025 budget?
Reflects actual usage.
Why is actual usage going so high over budget? I mean,
Do you think about part of it was during COVID?
this is 2023, COVID was 2020.
They were all hitting one account line. If you look at the substitute for the teachers, the actuals were 98,000, but the budget was 37,000. That's because set paras for regular education and special education and student services, as well as teacher regular education and student services, special education, were all hitting the one line. They were kind of mixing, so we wanted to break them out so they were reflected based on the educators, the paraprofessors in that particular function code.
Yeah, but
And,
we're
and people.
still over, aren't we?
Yes, but people also did not attend workshops in prior years because of COVID. They weren't attending, they weren't going places, and they also weren't having elective surgeries and going to the dentist and the doctors.
So
And
shouldn't
then
they
they
have
did.
used less substitute days?
But I'm saying during
No,
COVID,
in
they
23
didn't.
it
So
rapid.
then we get into 23, and we saw a back to a normal increase.
Plus, that includes the other positions.
Correct. It had.
Which is now broken
an
out.
increase in healthcare usage, sick time, absentee going places and doing things, and it's also reflected in our GMR that those things are happening, and we have an increase in usage and an increase in our
But
GMR.
don't all these positions have contracts with like maximum number of days that you can take off and
And that's what
stuff?
they budgeted
So shouldn't it be
for.
very
No.
easy to budget how many max
So,
substitute days there
I will
are?
say previously, that was not how we budgeted that line. We did not take, so if you can see the account note, they took the teachers and what they're provided for sick time and days, and then they took that number, and that's what they put for actuals. The previous practice was to pick a number and guesstimate how much. Also, about 2 years, maybe 3 years ago, Sue, we did increase the rate for subs so we could get substitute teachers to be competitive. And so with a mix of that increased rate, I think, and increased usage, we did see an increase. The other thing, if you'll notice, we did previously had the permanent substitute line, which is at the top of, if you can see that, the 5102, and that position was eliminated. And so then there were no actuals, if you can see very little. So it was the combination of those two lines. So we had a permanent substitute, a person there every day.
Is it more efficient to have a permanent substitute? Because it sounds like there's a lot of substitute usage.
I think
Well, if a
that
teacher gets sick or something, right? You
There
need a
was a lot
substitute.
of, there were a lot of things happening with that permanent substitute line, so we're still having that person do the administrative part of it, but they were also filling in other areas, and so we were trying to be very specific about we want someone there to do just sub work. So, because that wasn't necessarily happening, we went to a stipend to administer the substitute program.
Did I read that right? So a teacher, they can have up to 18 sick days or days off?
They're giving 18, so it's 5 sick days,
Yeah.
15 sick days and 3 personal days according to the CBA. Right, but those can also be cumulative, so someone could carry over those days from year to year to year, so they could end up with 75, because they believe it can be up to 125 per the CBA. So I just based it off what their current numbers are.
And
It's
these
like 1 out
these
of 10 days, though.
Yeah, these teachers only work 180 days a year, right? So that's 10%.
Yeah. That's like every 10th day you could be out.
Yeah.
And we're budgeting
Yep.
for maximum usage, which means
That's
like
their
for
contract.
3.5 teachers, we're essentially employing 3.5 substitutes for 35 teachers.
But they
So
all
it
don't
sounds like
take-
we could
they all
really
don't
support
take
a-
18 days, but if you have someone who has surgery or
Then why are
someone
we
who has
budgeting for
a
them?
child,
I mean, if it
think
sounds
there
like we
are-
could support a permanent
I think they are
substitute
using
position, and
days.
if that's gonna save money over paying it out as a stipend.
Might be worth looking at, so.
The permanent substitute, you mean?
Yeah.
It was
Discussed?
discussed, it was proposed, brought up to the school board, but kind of outside of the budget. So our intention at that time was that we'll take this budget forward to the budget committee, but that is something that is being discussed to kind of reintroduce that position to be.
Would it-
But again, then you're salaried, then you do have insurance and the other things that go along with that. So there is a cost.
And it's not
Be
perfect
assessed.
either, because there could be days that that person doesn't need to be there.
No, but with 35 teachers and 18 days per teacher, that's 630 days a year. That's, I think you can
Yeah.
have one permanent substitute.
and paraprofessionals.
I'm sure they can
Yeah.
find something to keep them busy if there's a magic day no one calls out.
Yeah, maybe they can do enrichment.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right,
I was-
moving on.
I'm sorry, one
Yep,
quick
go ahead.
question, please. Talking about increase in buyouts, we gonna do that this year, and by how much if so?
We did in the last contract, there was a increase in the buyout.
Oh, okay, and that's good for what, another year, 2025, I believe?
In
2
the-
more years.
In the teacher contract? This is the first year of 3 for the teacher
Okay,
contract.
okay. I didn't know if that was every year. Okay. All right, thank you.
So page number 2. First line at the top is the dental for paraprofessional. It's based off the current, need.
CBA.
It's the current position, and with a 4.7% GMR. Disability insurance for teachers and paras are broken out by the cost of the salary. So those numbers would adjust if a position was added or removed or something was tweaked, those numbers would be reflected as well. So that's based off what I got from rates from Primex.
Sorry, I want to go back to the previous page for a second.
Yep. Next page one.
How come the health teacher and the health paraprofessionals are not lumped in? Why are they pulled out separately?
That's a good question. It's usually teachers are one and then paraprofessionals are another.
It's probably that they're under separate contracts and
Contracts,
Yeah,
so they have
separate.
separate.
Health
negotiate
is
a
not under the
second.
teacher contract? And
The paraprofessionals have their own contract.
They're not
yeah,
the
but
same.
no, it's like health teacher.
No, it's not health teacher,
No,
it's
it's
health
It's
insurance.
health for
I know, it is.
teachers.
Health insurance for
Oh.
teachers.
For the
health
teachers,
insurance.
Which
I did
sorry,
the same
okay.
thing.
It's
I did the
still-
same
alright,
thing,
it's
John.
No, I can see why how you got that. Would a different
Okay.
name for that be like
Fine.
educator and something?
Insurance.
It's the health
Insurance.
insurance for
If it
the
says
teachers.
health
okay.
insurance, if it says INS even or whatever, no, like, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
not
It's a
health.
really
I had to
well-paid
look at
health
that twice
teacher.
too, I know.
Health teachers are cleaning it
Yeah,
up.
no,
I want to be a health
Same
teacher,
thing.
apparently. Holy smokes.
Well, you don't want to be a dental
No.
teacher, that's for sure.
No, you're not kidding.
How many health teachers do they
If
have?
you made that mistake, someone else will absolutely think that way as
Yes.
well.
But it does say dental INS.
I'll do the same thing with dental,
insurance on
yeah.
a couple
Yeah.
of lines. I mean,
Yeah.
does it-
I'll make sure they're uniform.
Thank you.
All right. Let's see here. To talk about disability. All right. Section 125 plan. Those are based on the currents. FICA for subs, teachers and subs, paras and subs. They're all reflective based on the salary. Lunch monitor, as we mentioned, is no longer there. Teacher retirement is based on the salary given by the state. The 19.64% is the retirement rate for this budget year that we're talking about. Unemployment compensation, workers' comp is numbers that I got from Primex based on rates. Health insurance buyout, as I mentioned previously, is combined with health insurance now. Longevity, that's part of the contract, that's based off, and that number is broken out. Let me explain that. Yes.
Go ahead.
Was I skipping ahead?
I'm gonna listen.
Okay, so before longevity, I found was built into the salary line, which also helps why the salary line doesn't look as large as it possibly could be. It is a fringe benefit, so it is broken out separately. So I took the longevity for the salaries, not for the salaries, excuse me, the longevity for the time that someone has been here and made its own account line. So during reporting, it's not part of salary, it is part of the benefit package.
Okay, that's due to the reporting side. All right, so
It's a cash payout, right? Like it's
why on the health
taxable the
insurance?
same way as salary. So why don't we just consider it salary?
Because it's a fringe benefit. It's not part of their
I mean,
agreement. It is part of their agreement, but it's not part of the salary part of
If
it.
it has to do with reporting, I get it, it makes sense. But why pull, or why put the health insurance buyout back into the health insurance line? Why do you not keep that separate?
Yeah, that makes it
Yeah.
hard to figure out if it's saving us money or not.
Right.
Yeah, I would appreciate if we kept that separate.
The reason why we did it was we didn't want anybody to feel like they were singled out because they were taking the buyout versus taking the health insurance.
Why would they
But
feel
we
singled out?
don't know
for
who's
that?
taking it,
Right.
it's just a
That
separate
means they've got
line.
an even better health plan available than
In
what.
some
Well,
lines
you know,
can.
regardless,
Some lines it's very easy to find out. It's very easy to see it.
Because it can be considered discriminatory when you go to hiring practices. We're gonna keep this person versus this person because this person's cheaper.
Isn't that like how you run a business?
It's like business.
You consider how much people are gonna cost the organization?
You
Can
can't
you-
decide to keep somebody because they're going to
You
be.
can't choose, you
Right,
can't
yeah.
hire
Get health
someone
insurance.
because they're not gonna
Right.
take a family health plan,
No.
or they're gonna take a buyout. That
That's
can't
the
be
equal
part of
opportunity
the
plan.
hiring process.
Get
That's
sued.
unfair.
Be a very bad employer.
So whenever possible, we tried to make it so it's not discriminatory.
It's like hiring somebody that doesn't have kids because you think they're going to be
Was it
around
much
more.
different than if someone offers to work for $5,000 less?
Well, we have CBAs that they can't do that.
It's always something.
Those rules.
All right, so longevity, it's explained the same with the paraprofessional. Longevity took it out of the salary line and created its own. Anything else on page 2 before we go to page 3? Okay. There's, at the top, there's a repairs and maintenance line, that is budget 0. Nothing was touched last year, but nothing was budgeted for this current year, so we're just gonna go with the trend with 0. Contracted services for regular ed, $4,200. That is the current budget, and we just level funded it.
Sorry, this is repairs and maintenance for the whole school?
No.
No.
It's not for the whole school, it's just for that one function code, the 1100 function code.
Which is
Repairs and maintenance, you will see a few different times.
Why is it here?
for the
If
employees.
there's nothing budgeted for it,
But there was something budgeted in the fiscal year '23, $300
Right.
is budgeted.
so we're keeping the line forever?
Nope,
The line-
next
Okay.
year it will fall off.
It's gonna drop off? Okay.
Tuition costs. So this number has changed since your default. It would also reflect in the default as well. We got the tuition cost from Dover, and as you can see in the note below, we're projecting 91 students at $19,022.51 for their tuition rate.
And that's Dover.
That is
Dover's
Dover plus, there is actually one student, is it in this line?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's also one student going to Seacoast School of Technology. And that is also on that line, because it's,
An increase in tuition rates is one of our other budget drivers.
How much does that one cost?
oh, that's $4,217.
Well, it's a great deal. And you said Dover was 19,000?
$19,022.51.
How much is
Tom,
Co-Brown?
there's a note right under
In the
the.
notes.
They're all in there.
But the child does
Great.
not go to
That's what he
Seacoast
told me, that
School
was
of
the number.
Technology all day. That would be,
That was gonna be my question.
that would be comparable to a CTE program, where it's a
What's that
partial
mean?
part.
Like, they go to Dover for part and then,
They go to whatever school.
I can't
they go to
identify
a
everything
CT.
about this child, but
Yeah.
let's say
Like taking
They
a
got-
career tech class.
okay, so they go to a different high school for some classes.
they're
and then-
receiving
Go
education
to-
one way, and then they're getting career and technical education
Whether
through
it's-
Seacoast School of Technology.
So the total cost is like 23,000 then?
Not necessarily, I didn't say
Do we,
that.
so we get a discount from Dover or whatever?
They're not in Dover
No,
the whole
no,
day.
this is what Nottingham is paying for the student to attend.
Seacoast
a
School of
program.
Technology.
But you say they also go somewhere else?
Kids can go.
They can go to
there
other
are
places.
regional CTE centers that accept students within the region, and so, students can go and get those.
Right.
Do they generally cost us less money than going to like Dover?
It depends. There's different situations for different kids, and I can't be too identifying to identify which kid
Right.
and why.
But in this case, it looks like it's saving money versus tuition at Dover, right?
Because it's
This is
Part-
Or wherever.
Sure. Do we do anything to encourage other kids to explore these other alternative
Is he part-time
education
high school?
routes?
You don't want
This
one size
child-
fits all.
We are contracted with Dover and with Co-Brown Northwood Academy.
Right.
Let me think
But
of
in
a
the past, we've
scenario-
also sent people to
Let me think of a
Portsmouth.
scenario that would not be identifying to a student. I know of a child that, a family of triplets in another district, and up to a certain grade, they were all homeschooled. But as courses got more difficult, they chose, for example, the parents couldn't teach band. So the children chose to come into school to take band courses, or they might come into school to take chemistry. I wouldn't be touching chemistry, whatever it is that they chose to come in. So if a child might be in a charter school as well, that we're not paying for, but then they might also, but they're in our district, but then they also might want to go to, or they could be homeschooled, but then they might choose to go to a CTE center. There's all different scenarios of why. So I'm not saying that that they're paying for Dover and then they're going to Seacoast School of Technology. I'm not saying we're paying for anything and Seacoast School of Technology, or we're just paying for Seacoast School of Technology. There's all different scenarios for different children.
So you're saying there's quite a bit of flexibility.
Yeah, Dover has a lot
Different
of
scenarios,
programs.
yes.
Do you know how much Raymond charges for tuition? Or how many
Off the top
students?
of my head, I do not. It's based off
Have you,
their-
have you
their-
asked?
It's based
have
off their
has
MS
you or the
25.
school board asked if Raymond has space available and might be able to take students that might be willing to go there?
So we have a policy right now that speaks to having the two contracts, and then if there's interest expressed, you can explore others. But having kids everywhere is kind of difficult. Also, you wouldn't have transportation or anything.
Sure, but we've paid to have students go to Portsmouth before.
Or
Or Exeter.
But
yeah, per the request.
Starting at a different than.
Sure, and how do but most parents and students probably don't know that there's an option to go to a different school other than those two schools of records. And I wonder if the school might reach out to surrounding towns and, maybe they have a grade where they have 3 teachers instead of 2 because it was just that number to get to an acceptable class size, so they have plenty of room in there, and they might take a student for, say, $15,000 a year. And maybe someone lives near the Raymond Town line, or their friends go there, and they might want to go there. No one knows it's an option because you guys haven't explored it and you haven't presented it to parents as an option. I would suggest that you reach out to the surrounding towns and just ask, do you have grades available where you have low class sizes and you might want to get some additional revenue through tuition from our town? And you can put it out there as an option. There would not be any transportation.
High schools don't necessarily go by a grade level. It's class selection, so it's not quite like an elementary school, but I hear what you're saying.
All right, then we move on to tuition at Co-Brown. We are projecting 166 students going at an estimated tuition rate of $19,717. All right, just a $1 budget line for the, any questions on the Co-Brown part?
And that's down.
That was down a
Is that
little.
because of fewer?
That's a little bit down from the estimated tuition, what was given during the default. That's what you're
current.
referring to.
So next year, there'll be 19th, 11th, and 12th. That's current.
So it's
Once
not,
that moving.
it's not significantly different than Dover currently.
Now, Dover had a big increase
Yes.
from 23 to 20, to our current year, there was a big increase.
$700 more.
But percentage-wise.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if you look at years ago, there was a significant difference between the two
Yeah.
schools, and
Yeah.
that,
Yeah, this
Really
this is
diminished, yeah.
It was like $4,000 or $5,000.
yeah, I think, I would
Excellent.
say 10 years ago, it might have been $5,000 difference between the two schools.
Weren't the parents paying the difference before back in the day too?
Way back at
Wait, that's
Cope.
been-
Well, they were, I'm just saying
It's
that
been a
was,
long time now,
There
but
was
yes.
a lot of leveraging going on.
and then there was no buses either to Co-Brown, and parents had to drive.
But you couldn't, you had to apply. Like, you couldn't just go to
They
Co-Brown.
didn't take all
True,
students.
that's true, yeah, you're right, that
Everybody
applied
had
like a
to-
lottery,
Right.
yes.
It wasn't a lottery, you had to be
There was an
accepted.
application
Oh, okay.
process, you
Yeah.
had to be accepted to Co-Brown.
Not everybody was.
Okay, yeah, I think we discussed it before, the totals, graduation enrollment.
So next line is tuition anticipated move-ins. It's just a dollar placeholder. Right now, we don't know if there's anybody gonna be moving in, but if anybody does, we can move some of the budget line in that function code there if we need to. Supplies for art. So
How do we, there's no anticipated move-ins, but aren't there a whole bunch of housing developments that just got approved or planned or something like that?
We can't put that in
You
the
don't have a
budget.
budget?
No.
Yeah, that's the line actually that came up, John may remember it, it was about maybe 6, 7 years ago, and it was put in.
There was always a few students in
Yeah.
that line, and it was like,
We could
we
never
never-
reconcile all the, like, the extras coming, we had balances left, remember at the end of the year on the tuition lines? And so the thought was if we had that line, and then you estimated that there would be 3 or 4 or 5 and put it there, but the budget committee didn't really like that because it's raising and appropriating money that may never be used.
right,
And it wasn't being used.
right, it wasn't.
Yeah.
right,
And then
it
instead of being
it was-
returned, it's
It
used
would-
as
It may be
the,
used here and there.
Undefined
but not-
warrant
it was never
balance,
really
yeah.
used at the amount that it was used.
I get you.
because-
So is there a reason to
budget.
keep that line if
The
we're
only
not
thing
going
you
to
could maybe
use
do
it?
with it is if you had a
Can we-
significant move-in,
Can we make them a penny?
we should put a.
I was,
Just- I mean,
Yeah, that was just.
I did ask him
A
about that.
dollar is the recommended practice.
I understand it, but it,
If you have 17
Why?
lines that are $1, it's $17. It
right,
looks like that.
it should I mean, it only has to be a penny to hold the spot open. I know that the practice has always been $1, but it just doesn't make sense.
Put no pun intended, get it sense.
well, John, it's our budget, so we can change it.
Is there a sense that that is something, so are you saying that if we felt that there was a significant amount of move-ins that they would be tracked
If you
there?
have one kid move into Nottingham School, it's not significant, you don't have to do a whole lot of.
Is that- Mhm.
But if you have one kid or 2 kids move in at high school, that would be significant.
But have we been tracking them in this line?
No,
We
no,
haven't
we just,
been
it
using
moves,
it at
we
all.
probably can get rid of that line completely.
That's what I'm wondering,
Yeah.
if it's not
Unless
gonna be
You
budgeted.
use it if you had move-ins.
Unless
and
you want to
wanted
track it.
Right.
And you wanted to track that.
Yeah,
track
Which
it.
might
doesn't-
be, actually, Helpful.
I think
But it's
Who's gonna
difficult.
track
that?
If you check
could.
enrollment reports, it'll be 1 month the student
Right.
moves out, 2 months later, two
Yeah.
move in, and so.
It probably
all over
makes
the
sense
place,
to
right?
just get rid of that line completely. So we're gonna save $1 anyway. We're gonna save more than that penny. We're gonna save more than the
Cents.
99
One whole
cents.
dollar, not just 99 cents.
So I'll make it at zero.
Zero value now.
I mean, it hasn't been used.
Right.
We're good with it.
Okay.
All right, so the next line is supplies for the art. Hasn't really changed much, just shipping costs, I think, went up a little bit more. So it's $73. Supplies for testing, there's a note below it to explain what makes up that number. Supplies for physical education.
Wait, sorry, I thought you were gonna explain
Oh,
why.
sorry,
yeah.
okay, yeah. So it's a $3,500 for Ames Web Plus complete subscription renewal.
What's that?
It's a software, I was testing software, I believe.
special education.
It's, yeah, we use it for data monitoring for students' progress.
Are there open source free software alternatives available?
We want to use the ones particularly in categories that are recommended, that are, give me a minute, under data assurances. We have to use programs that fall under data assurances that are guaranteed to
So this is
not
like
be.
software that like every school district uses?
Yeah, it's
Not
a lot of-
every, but yes.
But there are different softwares, but yeah, so if they're tracking students' data, it's like a testing. So you can see over years if students are or months they're
You
making
show their
progress,
growth. The
their
map is their
growth and
growth
progress.
over every year, and so you can look to see how effective your programming is. We like to see it so that we can discuss where should we be budgeting to address some of these issues. So-
And we also just can't pick random willy-nilly we have to follow under new mandates in the past, I think it's past 5 years, it has to follow under data assurances. So we guarantee that any software that we're using within our district does not inadvertently, and that they sign data assurances that we don't inadvertently release and make our district susceptible to the hacking of student information, and it's not shared.
So I have to ask, there's a lot of these software programs that cost us $3,000 or $4,000 a year, and it sounds like, every school district has to use one of these types of things, and there's probably 10,000 school districts in the country, something like that? So how come we're paying billions of dollars for a Department of Education, and they can't provide us with this software that everyone can use and be
I
standardized?
think that question does not belong in this.
No,
committee.
talk to Frank Edelbrook.
Not a budget
Somebody
line.
else, you know that.
I mean, the
Please
federal.
send a letter to your representatives and senators.
Moving on.
Moving on.
All right, $250 for the Bracken School Readiness Assessment, and $5,670 for a web-based map testing program.
So who runs that? Is that a private thing? This last one, this map testing program?
The web-based map.
These are
testing
tools
program?
that we use to do our assessments. We're accountable in preparing our kids in the federal accountability system and our state accountability system, and these are tools that we use to collect benchmark data.
Again, it's this federal accountability thing. Do they not have free alternatives?
We can use the interim assessments on SAS testing, but those aren't the only assessments that we choose to use. We look to triangulate our data and use a variety of tools versus teaching to one particular
So
test.
you do 3 tests?
We have the SAS assessment, that's one test.
That's the state.
That's a state standardized test.
Okay, is there a federal one?
No, each state has to determine which assessment they're using for the federal accountability system. And the state puts out an RFP every so many years about which one they're going to use. Ours is currently SAS.
And what's the third one?
I don't understand your question.
Sorry, you said you
Triangulate.
triangulate.
Like the neat, like.
Any number
Wow.
one. It could be qualitative, it can be quantitative, teacher data, student daily performance, STAR assessment. We use several different ones depending on the subject at school.
So the major cost driver in the 20% increase is,
Cost of the subscriptions.
across the board, like they're all going up?
Ames Web is 3,500 for their renewal. I guess
You know
have
the
the details.
I don't know if we have last year's.
Meanwhile, looks like it's 5670. Those are the main ones, Dibbles, Ames Web, and Meanwhile, that's what they use. The new ones, I personally really like it because it shows the kids all the way through. And I like to see some accountability to show that kids really are getting what they're supposed to be getting, so that's really good. And the Ames Webs and Dibbles, there are different grade levels.
So some of them are also, it looks like, I'm looking at last year's note, that it's, you pay per student that's using the testing too. So it's not just like it went up $1,000, you have to pay for how many students that are using that testing. So depending on enrollment or what grades are using that testing, they're paying per student for that.
And have you guys tried to renegotiate any of these prices or contracts?
I'm not sure about that, but I will tell you that the NEWA map is used for grades 2 through 8, and that the Ames Web is used just for reading and math, and that's vital to our response to intervention program.
Sure, but the price, they're raising the rates 21%. You know, and they've probably done this a number of times. It looks like it's gone up in the past as well, so.
I can't speak to this
Yeah.
one in particular, but yes, we do negotiate. I was negotiating just this week on different programs, me personally. I
Renegotiate.
encourage Kevin to do that as well.
Renegotiate, go back to these.
We talk about looking at waterfalling our contracts so that they're all not due at one time. If we have 3 years, this package is due these 3 years, and then these packages are due the next 3 years.
And yet they all went up this year.
These 3 are this year. These are three of the most used for benchmarking. And I will say the Bracken is preschool. The Ames Web is particularly for reading and math, and that's for the RTI model, which is where we give the most in-depth services, and the MAP is for grades 2 to 8. And that has a component of a Descartes menu where teachers can work with children. It's participatory for students to work with their teachers, and involvement for their own status.
What does MAP stand for?
Measures of academic progress.
That's from NEWA, that's what NEWA.
The NEWA map.
That's, NEWA uses NAP.
So many acronyms.
I know.
All right, physical education. Are we just giving up on that? Is that why it's been halved?
Nope, this
That
is based on
seems
her
like an
request.
opinion, not a
Can we
question
just,
of
stick to the
budget.
budget?
It looks like supplies are just not
It's more of a
needed this
joke,
year.
but yeah.
Okay.
Supplies, math, music. I mean, I guess a lot of these lines here kind of, if you have specific questions, we can look into see what makes up those numbers, but just along with everything else, a lot of costs went up. I believe science went up for local, not local, that's on the top of my head, where is it?
What are math supplies?
Math?
Math, numerous list of math supplies. We have many manipulatives. There's dice. There's teachers pay teacher.
Sorry, what?
It's a program where teachers can go on and get lesson plans and ideas from other teachers as well. Think of it as,
Summative, informative activities. It's a sharing platform.
yeah, and the person who created gets a little percentage for creating it and sharing it with other teachers.
So it's,
The collaboration platform
Yeah,
amongst
that's a great way of
educators.
So
Hang on a second.
that's not really a supply. That sounds like a
tool.
subscription.
It's a subscription tool.
Is it like TikTok
no,
videos?
so you don't have to, it's a
Like a curriculum, it's like an online
curriculum. So it's, you can go on and type in a certain
You have lesson
thing.
plans.
I use it for myself, for my work, and so if I'm looking for a specific activity related to, you know, auditory processing or something, I could look that up, and then it may be $5, and it's a kit someone else has created, so I do not have to spend 10 hours creating this lesson to do that. So it's someone has taken the time to make it, and then they've shared it, so they get a couple dollars, and it, you know, it's not a subscription where you know, it's kind of as you need it for different things.
But as part of the,
So what's the main driver?
Hang on,
This
John,
this is
it's
going up
John's
600
turn.
bucks.
John's turn.
Well, I never got an answer, so.
as part of the books and stuff that we're buying and don't those include the curriculums?
You can have
Right.
curriculum of what you need
It's-
to teach, but then there can also be different ways in which you deliver the curriculum. And teacher to teacher is a method and ideas and collaboration in which you deliver curriculum. And it would be like we will sit in a classroom, the three of us are both teaching, let's say we're both teaching, teaching a math class, and we're talking about how we're going to differentiate or do an RTI model on math.
Sorry, what's RTI?
Response to intervention, looking at flexible ways to teach different students. We're teaching fractions to students at all different levels. And if it's a day that I don't have any of my peers here, the three of us together could come up with great ways to differentiate, but maybe I'm a teacher and I don't have anyone in my content area to collaborate with. I can go on Teachers to Teacher online, and that gives me a way to pull different models. Or maybe there's nothing boy, I've tried all these things in my curriculum guide and my teacher manual, and you can go on Teacher to Teacher and you get other examples of what to try.
Yeah, and that's why I'm.
There's another curriculum type resource.
I mean, I get having extra resources and stuff like that, but it's like we're spending a lot of money on these curriculums, and now we're paying additional curriculum money for things that we should already be paying for.
It's $50, and I think Miss Lepico shows her value in how the students perform in math as a result.
So if that's only $50, then what's the main driver for this 265% increase?
I'm going down through the list. I've said several things so far. Looking for DICE, which are replacement.
It's like $1.
There's teachers to teachers. There's pencils. There are batteries to go with all the calculators, calculator replacement, scientific calculators.
Did we just buy more, maybe? Is that part of what increased it?
Can I just have everyone look to what the 23 budget was for that line? And it was 1448.
But you didn't spend it.
Right, but there's
So what does it matter? You didn't spend it.
But they
the-
need
let her
this
finish.
year.
Some of these supplies could be things that are not necessarily needed to purchase every year. But if you're talking about manipulators or things that young children are losing, then maybe in 2 or 3 years, you do need to buy more of them. So last year's budget was 253, but this year's proposed is 924, which is still actually less than the 23 budgeted number. So this is not out of the realm of a supplies line for math. It's just not something necessarily needed every year for supplies.
Graph paper, protractors, different size, graph papers.
It sounds like
Graph
it's a
paper.
mix of things that
Yeah,
is different
just
every year.
replacement of
Based on-
supplies.
based on the
supplies.
need. And so this is what happens when you go and talk to the teachers, they fill these things out and send it back, so it's not an exact science.
And if you would have started with the curriculum thing's only $50, we could have quickly moved on.
I apologize.
I still would have questioned.
I'm learning.
Yes, you would.
We're good.
I told you you
Great
need to
resource
teach me
for
more.
anyone
No
who's
worries.
come up with
We're doing fine. We're gonna be here all night, so
Yeah.
So
don't get stressed.
We're on, we've hit 10% of this budget in an hour, so.
I-
No, I
like
mentioned
me
that
to-
earlier, Sue. Sue, I
Like we
mentioned
did the
that.
Only
same
we
for
all
music
did, right?
supplies
At the
quickly
beginning of
for
the night
265%.
football.
I'm assuming those are instruments.
Repairs to instruments, materials for banding chorus, reeds, strings, amps, cables, sanitizers, whiteboard supplies, musical futures online subscription. That was $327.21. That's the larger one.
Yeah, that one didn't change much, but the science supplies are up 106%.
$75 for chick hatching supplies. Butterfly feeding station is 18. Butterflies, 130. Clay. Paint.
I know one of the things.
Propane.
We did talk about with that is we just upgraded those labs.
Yep.
And so the expectation is that they're
Yeah,
going
they
to more robust labs.
No.
And this should reflect that they're gonna be
Might
in those
wanna
labs
update
more and more hands-on, getting stuff done in there. They got 2 labs, one for.
It's called
like
STEAM
biology
now.
type and one for more physics type.
Science, tech,
So I think
engineering.
that
art,
Beakers,
math.
speakers,
They need to
cylinders, safety glasses,
Using those
more
labs.
magnets.
Yeah.
So you guys still dissect stuff?
I know we talked about doing like virtual dissection is the new thing, like we used to go in and do the earthworms.
Oh, yeah, the frogs.
Earthworms.
I'm
What
not
about the
sure
fetal
if they do
pigs?
that. When Jude was there, he told us they did a lot of virtual dissection, so I'm not sure if they do any dissection in eighth
We'll have to
grade.
see what matches their, I'm looking here, what matches their curriculum, but
Oh, that was.
It sounded like there's a lot of animals there, chicks and butterflies
Oh, no,
and things.
those are live ones.
Yeah, those are
We're not
live ones.
Yeah, everything's alive till you dissect it.
A
They
lot
don't
of
kill them at the
snails,
school.
Start to dissect it.
Including you.
Snails, a lot of, yeah, crickets, pill bugs.
So it's all different grades.
There's stuff coming.
Yeah.
Fish, snails.
You still do real chemistry of like Bunsen burners and stuff, or?
Propane is in there, yep. that's
Excellent.
Yeah, they,
And everything, the
The science
conference
room
room
over, I
have
thought.
electricity wired in, and there's additional sinks and.
that was
So
the
it's
new.
very-
Muscle
that's
tissue,
better.
thermometers, ethanol,
Ethanol, oh man.
bunch of chemicals.
That's for the teachers.
They gotta get through the day.
Yeah, that was my,
So we anticipate this
Good.
line should stay,
yes.
I mean, it's quite an increase, so these labs are gonna need that amount of supplies year over year?
I think
Or is this like a one-time?
A lot of these, like the beakers, should be, they should
They
last a
should
while.
be able
If
to
they
be
were-
one
Still lasts
time.
for a while.
We can
So that should go down next year?
Probably, I think.
I think so.
A little bit partially for the new labs.
Yep.
Which is only gonna affect grades 7 and 8 right now, so
Yeah, a lot of
it's
these,
not all that, but you could ask.
some of them are consumables like the propane, ethanol, stuff like that, but then there are other stuff there that wouldn't be, it's like a one-time thing, maybe for 4 or 5 years, depending on what the quality is, if somebody breaks, like the beakers or some of the STEM activities.
They do
Blocking
all
discs.
pellets every year, and they do dissect those. That's what
There's
I'm
STEM, I see some STEM in the lower grades too. Straw connectors, a lot of STEM, in the lower grades here.
What do we got for social studies supplies?
A lot of it is.
Pocket constitutions?
It's
Way too thick for this.
I can get those for you for free.
pocket what?
Pocket
Oh,
constitutions.
constitutions.
We first
No, I
grade.
do not
I
see
don't
any of
see
those
that.
on here.
Do you
so
guys
yes,
teach
we
the
would like those.
Constitution anymore?
Yes, there's Constitution Day.
One day?
Supplies for Native American Day, a lot of paper for some social studies projects, different kinds of paper, awards and medals. Oh, that's never general, that's general supplies. Social studies, a lot of paper for social studies projects. Not a lot of paper, but that's what I'm seeing.
Oh, so general supplies are up too.
Now, general supplies,
Page 4.
Oh, that one we actually got a list.
Turn the page.
the whole list, yeah. Awards, medals.
That's for everybody now?
Tom, you have to.
No,
Tom,
there's
you
not enough
have to-
money here for everyone to get an award, even at 25 cents a piece.
Sorry, what is a white room?
Is it for sensory?
It's for a white room.
Yeah,
Sensory
what is a
items
right,
for a
what is a
room.
white
It
room?
has to do with SEL, social emotional learning and calming station, for students with sensory identifications.
This is like a punishment room?
No.
Calming room, like a.
People who are overstimulated.
Does it have white noise or a lack of white? Is that what it's about, like no background noise?
It depends on the individual student with which they need.
It's supposed to be a calming space.
Where is that? Where do we have that?
I think there's a couple different places depending on their needs.
That's just a joke, yeah.
General supplies, all kinds of different things to create positive climate and culture. Their birthday pencils, things from the company, really good stuff with multiplication and cursive and fractions. There are new laws around teaching of cursive handwriting.
Sorry,
Yeah.
did you say new laws
Yeah.
Yes,
around
That's
cursive?
laws around
cursive
it.
is, it's mandatory to now teach cursive and to
Ugh.
also teach multiplication.
Good.
I
thought
didn't know
that's
we
good.
needed a law to teach cursive, but I'm,
It just came in, you have to teach cursive writing.
As a back,
I think
Yeah,
there was,
it's
there was,
bubbling
there
out.
was
State
a,
law or
a state,
federal?
State law, of course.
Because it wasn't being taught for a while.
It was phased out.
Yeah.
God.
so,
Oh, I'm
and
so
Nottingham
glad.
School, I think has been consistently
Yep.
doing cursive writing.
Okay.
We're beefing it up.
But there was a state law because some schools were moving away from teaching it at all. So the state law recently.
What is the benefit of learning cursive?
Yeah, Tom, you have to stick to budget items.
So pretty.
Sign your name. You can sign a check.
Thank you, notes.
Read historical documents, etc. Helps you cross over to different sides of your brain. Also, general supplies, different folders, additional, looking at school-wide copy paper. Our folders,
So almost half of this is copy paper, right?
Yeah,
9,000.
9,000
Yeah.
was copy paper, yes. Yeah, so almost out, yeah, almost half, yep.
Maybe we should stop killing the trees.
card stock.
Yeah, I thought everything was done on Chromebooks now.
It's not.
There needs to be a balance between how much those students are on those
Screen-
screens.
Only so much time recommended online, but
Okay, are we good
that's
on
most of
Yeah.
it.
this
Yeah, I
line?
think we're good.
Supplies, teacher line,
So, yes, the supplies teacher line, that's a new line. So what typically happened in the past was each teacher was given $250 for supplies at their discretion. They could use at WB Mason, they could use it at Walmart, wherever. So it was recommended by the school board to actually break that out from the general supply line and make it its own
okay.
account line so it's visible.
So this is
So
for
that-
35 teachers, $250 each.
Yes.
So that used to be in the previous budget line?
Yes.
So really, that line went up by more than 21%
Since we removed this from it.
since you removed that,
Yes.
right? So it's,
87.
it's actually more like almost like 80% increase in general supplies then.
Directly, yes.
But I think it's also important to realize that the price of paper went
Up a lot.
increased by approximately $25 to $30 per case.
Wow.
So how much of the previous equipment, how much of the previous supplies general budget was copy paper?
We'd have to look that up.
Because I mean,
See if
that
it's in there.
doesn't account for an 80% increase. Yeah.
But the increase in all supplies went up. Significant increase in all supplies, just like when you go to
Not
the store.
80%.
So this, do you know how much copy paper? Last year's budget in general supplies was $6,000 for copy paper.
And now it's
And now it's
over 9,000.
$9,000
That's a
for
lot.
copy paper.
Which counts for approximately $25 to $30 per case of paper.
And then $8,000 for graph paper.
It's a big,
Yeah,
and
that's-
then.
That's 50%.
and then-
Graph paper,
yeah,
too.
Plus graph paper for another $8,000, so.
Wow.
We've been in contact with, what's the dot com that Carrie contacted?
I just refer to it as a state right now.
Through the state, looking at,
Getting on with their contract, see if we can get a discount on paper.
Yeah.
You ask the trees to grow faster so they can produce more paper.
Contract
Please.
analyst.
Bamboo.
Yeah, talk
But maybe
nice to
doing
them.
some sort of bulk buying in
Yes.
some way.
Yes,
to
that's
reduce
exactly
their
what it
costs.
is.
Into them.
yes.
See if there's anything that can get knocked off.
And the other thing I will share with the supplies teacher line, that they, presented to us was that, that this would allow teachers to use the funds in different locations versus just WB Mason. And so your $250 at WB Mason does not get you as far as
Expensive.
$250 in other locations. So,
Let's maximize their
so it
dollars.
maximizes that dollar amount that teachers are allowed to use for supplies versus just kind of limited to some of the higher costs at some of the vendors.
So is moving it out to its own line required to do that?
I think it's the tracking of that
It
to,
is for the tracking of it.
so it's not lumped in with the general supplies, but we're seeing it is supplies, but it's, not for the entire building, so,
It's
you
for
can
the
really
individual teacher, the educator, that way nobody's overstepping the boundary, ordering too much, taking away from somebody else. That $250 would be specifically for them, and they can't go over that.
Right.
Now, it also
I
includes-
think it makes sense. It gives them a lot of
Yeah.
flexibility that.
Yes.
Bless you.
and, yeah.
They'll have a PO in their name, so if they saw something at Amazon, they went to the Dollar Tree, they saw a big sale at Walmart, they can purchase it, put the receipt in with just those items for school on it, get reimbursed and get several more folders than they would have gotten if they went to WB Mason.
And realistically, they spend $250 by October, because they're spending out of pocket
Oh, they spend it for back
until
to
June.
school.
Yeah, exactly, so.
Yeah.
But it's a limited, that's the 250
That's what-
period,
yep.
that's all they get back.
Yep, yep.
All right, next line, supplies for language arts.
Are you waiting for me?
Yeah, no, you don't have to read the
No.
individual.
Okay.
Why is that one lower?
Just their requests are lower.
Good.
Perhaps they have leftovers from last year.
Supplies for computers, that was just level funded. Supplies for reading, that did go up.
Yeah, that went up a lot. That was huge. So did something change there that?
New books order?
They got foundations, the different, my speculation
laundry?
is the new reading program they got, that they need some manipulatives to go with that curriculum work.
We don't want those. We don't want dandelion.
We don't want the
laundries.
dandelions.
My yard has
No
got enough
weeds.
of them.
There's a note for dandelion launch. Little Sprouts.
Yep.
That is it.
There's several, there's
That's a lot.
there's class workbooks.
Those foundations, letter boards, that would be new.
There's
So
alphabet
what-
cards.
A lot.
What were we doing before that we didn't need this this $8,000 in supplies? Somewhere we were teaching reading without it?
We
They,
had a different program.
So we bought a new curriculum and then that,
Accoutrements.
the cost of curriculums have
Required.
gone up as well.
Well, yeah,
Because
but
when
then-
we
Yeah.
initially, when it was initially put forward to
seem
the
like a lot.
board, back in the spring, we got a different price when we went to order it in the summer. There was, I don't know.
The amount
it's-
that went into the budget last year for the, because we're on a 6-year cycle, and they look through and make sure everything is appropriate. But, the cost was significantly higher. One thing I will
Thousands.
say, the board does have questions about curriculum, timing, and so forth, and purchases, and we've asked for additional information. I think we can answer your questions better after we receive that.
So all these supplies for the reading, this is tied to like a new curriculum thing?
I don't know that all of it is. I don't
Not all
have
of
the
them.
detail that
Some of it.
they have. But,
And so this is,
Some of it.
when we say curriculum, this is the textbooks, which is like a subscription.
Workbook,
There's
these are the
standards, and
consumables.
The curriculum is designed to deliver the standards,
56,
and then
10,
you
17,
purchase
right?
programs to deliver curriculum.
And these are the
So
ones that
we were
expire.
using, Wonders, and they went through and determined to buy foundations. And there are different, programs, I think, now in each of the grades, so we're trying to get a better handle on the timing of everything, when things were purchased, and what the expectations are gonna be around costs,
Right.
and what we can
Thank
look forward to. So when we get those details, we'll be better positioned to address this.
So this $8,000 in supplies, is this gonna be useless after that curriculum expires?
Well,
Are these
That
one-time
would
purchase, do you know if these are one-time
right,
purchases?
that was my question.
versus,
I
are
don't
we gonna
know
need
if
this
these-
again next year as well?
Right, that's what I wanna know.
Right. So
These-
that's what we're asking, and we're gonna let you know.
If, looking what's written here, I don't think that these particular things, I mean, there might be things that need to be replaced, but we're looking at letter tiles.
Right, that,
And if
I
you're
would
do-
think.
those
it
are
should
things
Surely
that
last,
one-time
yeah.
purchase.
Sounds one time.
There
At
could be
least a
parts
lot
that
of
might
it
need to be
does.
replaced. If you're missing several letter E's, that's a very popular letter,
You know,
but
kids eat them or whatever.
But
yes.
there's one thing too, there's some changes in the way,
The science.
With the
language
science of
arts,
reading,
the science of reading and moving more toward phonetics and ensuring that by the time students get up through all the grade levels, that they can walk into the workplace and have the proper skills around English, language arts, and be able to put together reports and so forth. So phonics wasn't really necessarily being delivered. We always have, I think, but the science of reading definitely has a bit of a
phonemic awareness and
so they're gonna have the building blocks, so that would likely require, and I think that we'll hear about that at our next meeting, what do they need for supplies and manipulatives to start to deliver some of that? More phonetic awareness and giving kids the building blocks to look at a word and sound it out and have the mechanics
Mhm.
to do that. Because, you know, the whole language don't necessarily, if you're the context right, you may not have the individual words right, so there's more detail than just context.
The next line is also consumables with the workbooks. And also in that line, make sure I have the right line here.
So we don't get the workbooks when we buy these curriculum?
They're consumable each year.
But the whole curriculum is
The students
consumable.
write in the workbooks.
Yeah.
See?
So is some of that part of the certain curriculums come with the workbook?
We're gonna be here, we gotta do it sometime.
You get a book, but then if they write in them each year.
Right, but it's supposed to really buy a 6-year program that comes with.
You get a
6 years
text that you might use, you might sit in reading group and use your text, but then you have a book that they're writing in.
But each kid's gonna get a different workbook.
So those are annual cost additional to the textbooks,
If we choose to have them write in the
if
workbook.
the workbooks are, versus photocopied at $9,000 worth of copy paper, so I might as well use the word. My question on this one really quick, and I didn't see this before, the other one didn't have a note. Is there also teachers pay teachers in this section? That's what it looks like?
I don't.
In classroom workbooks, so I'm just wondering if.
The note
it's
underneath
still-
says,
Teachers
Teachers
pay
pay teachers.
teachers
So-
website.
Yes, there is.
It is, it's listed there.
It's different amounts of, if there's only so many, my understanding, and you obviously might know better, it's, each one only pays for so many, right? It's
Well-
not one blanket license that covers everyone.
Well, no, they're typically purchased as,
As so many people, so
one.
whoever requested it under this one,
I'm just curious why that one's under workbooks versus supplies for the other teachers.
well, this whole category, oh, I see what you're saying.
Workbooks?
Yeah, it's for curriculum relevant worksheets and activities.
I'm just curious why one was in one.
I think it's
Area.
for the source of what they're gonna be looking for. I think like the other one was math, this one's gonna be using for the curriculum, worksheets and activities. Let's see here.
She's saying literally it says workbook, but.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if
We
it's in
can,
the right
we
budget
can work
line.
on that. We can move that one to be more consistent.
anything else on page 4 for the committee?
What % students are proficient in reading?
We have that data, we can get it to you. It's different for every grade, they test 3 through 8.
It's all
I didn't
available
bring-
on our website too.
Yeah, I didn't bring that individual data, we can get it to you.
Yeah, I was trying to look at it on the state DOEs,
Yeah,
but
they just started.
back to 2017.
Yeah, well, they have it out there too, but it's really convoluted, so we can get that over to you.
Anything else on page 4?
Classroom textbooks, didn't we just have some additional money go into these funds for a warrant
Yes.
article?
So that's what
So they're down.
Ms. Levinson was just sharing. We have asked for that as the school board. A kind of a look back at the accounting of what was purchased. We weren't able to, with last year's budget, purchase all of the textbooks. Because they are in multi-year subscriptions, I think there were some that were purchased for less years. And so there are some monies, I think, intended to make it whole, to get all 6 years instead of the 3 that we purchased. But we requested a full accounting of that so we could see what we have purchased, what we still need to purchase. We're a little unclear of where we are in that.
Because can
so.
some of that be
So-
pulled from like the textbook reserve fund?
So we actually already used the entire the reserve fund, and it was not funded because of this past year, because there was no available fund balance to fund it, so there was no additional funds in that.
But I never got a chance to ask the superintendent this. Does anyone still sell actual textbooks, physical textbooks that don't expire? Or is everything a subscription service now?
There's still
After a couple of years.
textbooks.
So why does the school not explore that option? Why do we not use textbooks that don't expire every 4 or 5 years?
Well, the purchases that we're currently doing were made prior to me being here. Those are the choices for the textbook adoption process that I'm assuming were made.
Going forward, do you think it'll be considered to use actual textbooks that don't expire every few years?
Like history books from the 80s, why can't we just keep using those?
I have
Science books from
no
the
idea.
70s.
That would be a process that we'll follow through here, but
Oh,
we want to make sure that we stay current and that our students get the best possible education for the 21st century.
Right, but elementary school math doesn't change, hasn't changed in 50
Oh, it
years.
has.
Oh, it has.
Yes, it has.
Changed in the past 10 years.
Oh, come on, you should know that.
And
can't say that.
That's why kids show up in college functionally illiterate and can't do math.
Maybe your college, but
New
not
Hampshire
ours.
shows a great ranking of performance nationwide.
Great, let's stick to budget lines.
Yeah,
Anything
can you
else
go
on
on?
4? Page 5. Software's.
The software's a lot of examples of ways that the teachers use the Chromebook, iPad subscriptions for teaching.
So I hate to beat the dead horse on like the curriculum, but so we bought new curriculum that's supposed to have all these supplements. And then it looks like we supplement it with workbooks. And then it looks like we supplement it with software. So it's like it's not all included in that one package. Like I would think you buy a curriculum and it's like, this is what we're gonna teach, but it almost seems like an overabundance, like too much information. Like, cause we've got the curriculum with the subscription, and now we've got the workbooks with the supplements, which is a different thing, and now we've got the software, which is a different thing. It's like,
It depends on the subject,
and the teacher
but it depends on the subject. Like, you've got IXL, which is a program that kids use for math, or mostly math, not much reading.
I just don't wanna, yeah, I just don't wanna be
Some
like.
of them, I will say IXL is used as a homework practice for some of, different math things. They actually have IXL for reading and science, and so a homework could be assigned and it's to practice these facts on IXL, or they could use that additional time. So some of these are just an additional tool to be used by the teachers. Again, we're trying to, teach to all the students, and so sometimes there's just different ways that things are presented to support the students' learning in the different areas.
But don't the workbooks have like homework assignments in them?
No, not necessarily. I think that every student learns in a different way, just like when we went to school, just like when I was teaching quite a while ago, for the 21 years in which I taught. I would have a textbook that I might use, but I'd also supplement it with teacher resource books, and I might photocopy things out of that and give kids handouts. I might also have a workbook, but back in the day, what did we use with the workbooks? The kids had a piece of paper and they had to sit and copy down and write their answers on a piece of paper. They didn't write in the workbook, which meant
Right,
they
so
got
that was
far
part of the
less,
book.
they got far less done. We were able to cover far less content because they spent all their time copying from the workbook onto a piece of paper. Then I might also do, put on the overhead that cranked. Then as we got the computers, and if it was a day when I had my turn with the computer cart, then the children might get to use a computer cart and do some programs on the computer. And then I might assign them something that they would do at home. So they're just multiple tools because every child learns in a different way. And that's what you're seeing here. And Teacher to Teacher is just one of the latest programs that they have for collaboration versus I might have gone to a workshop. We sit and literally cutting out all these manipulatives that we then would laminate and come back to our classroom and sit and share. We have the ability to go and get those and purchase them shared or sit online and learn them from one another and share. Just more modern tools than we were able to have when I stopped teaching in 2000.
Yes.
7.
That's for a tech list of the software that's being used, so that's something.
We have.
We
do have it.
And the reasons for it. So when we meet next, we'll have a list of technology and like what's happening with different software. And I think it does.
It just seems, I don't want to say it, and I get you guys are trying to do a great job for the students, but it almost gets to the feeling like it's almost excessive. It's like too much because we have the,
Well, no, maybe
it's
there's
too much to use wisely or prudently, like there might be too many resources that we could pare down, and
But I think they're
we don't
different
need
grades.
so much overlap.
I think it's different grades.
Some of this is because it's different grades, so there's programs for, kindergarten and first grade versus programs, so, for the upper grades, and one might be for math, and one might, so even though there's a long list, there may not, the students are not necessarily seeing all of these on the list, that we do serve pre-K to 8 in the building, so there are different, things, and I think Teacher to Teacher, each one teaches in their own way and uses different materials and resources. But that has been a question, the technology piece that the board has been discussing of because there are concerns about how much time students are spending on screens and, you know, getting their education that way versus, you know, from the teacher and in person. Those are ongoing discussions at the board level.
Well, it sounds like between the curriculums that we're purchasing as textbooks, you know, all these, educational plans here, the teachers paying teachers and these things, it sounds like there's a lot of supplements to the curriculum and making lesson plans and things. I wonder if we could eliminate the curriculum director at this point. I believe at some point in the past that was like they didn't have that position, or that was not a full-time position, permanent position or something.
I certainly wouldn't recommend that, seeing as how we're doing very well due to the planning and integration, cross-curricular efforts with
Is
vertical
the
and
curriculum
horizontal
director a
teachers.
full-time position?
Yes.
So what did they do if we're purchasing all of our curriculums with the textbooks, we're purchasing
They help
teacher
lead that and
teacher
integrate
things?
that and help the teachers implement those curriculums in their classrooms. And I'd like to keep going through, we're only on page 5.
Yep.
Thank you.
I think it's really important that I also point out, I'm telling you what these things are, but all those things aren't for every single teacher in every single grade. Like many of those things are 2 teachers here, 2 teachers are doing this portion, 2 teachers are doing this portion. And that's on their teaching style. They have standards that they have to follow, competencies they have to meet, and how they choose to meet those and deliver that curriculum in their classroom are what you're hearing. Like some might be workbooks, some might be the teacher to teacher, some might be the software. So I think that that's part of it, that every teacher's not getting all of those, but that's helpful.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Okay, just one question, please.
That's what we're here for.
So the balance in textbook capital reserve fund is, do we know that?
Zero.
Zero.
We believe we're $5. I think we didn't completely.
So we've
Okay.
asked for updated.
We've asked for updated
Capital
balances.
reserve balances for our next meeting, and also, so we're gonna be getting all of that into our next meeting.
Okay, so right now it's zero, even though the
It's
100,
like $5.
We believe
Okay.
it's $5.
okay. So the 168,000 that the school got a couple weeks ago, 50,000 I thought was supposed to go in that fund?
30, not in the fund, in the budget.
In the operating.
Oh, okay, okay.
And that paid
Okay.
for pretty much the
So
work
that
was
goes
done
into the
on the
unassigned
building.
fund balance then, is that correct?
It went against the lines that we discussed.
It's in the
The
current
technology,
operating budget.
maintenance, went to technology and resources,
Yep.
maintenance,
In textbooks, I thought.
In
and
text.
textbooks and resources.
That's why the school board has asked to, accounting for that, what we have purchased, what we purchased at the end of last year, and really get a full accounting of where we're at with textbooks.
Where we are in the purchase.
Because we're a little unclear of what's remaining, if anything, from that.
And could you maybe
Okay.
like, I don't want to say like a report, but 'cause we're gonna see you guys in another 2 weeks, maybe you could
Yeah,
have.
so we have our meeting the Wednesday right before our next meeting,
Okay.
so I hopefully can share that.
Yeah, I sent an email today asking for those balances.
Thank you.
The unassigned fund balance, the
So the
textbook,
unassigned-
the grounds, and the capital reserve?
Oh,
Those are, so we have capital reserve funds.
Okay, they're all
Unassigned fund
capital.
balance is what is left at the end of the last
Year,
year, which
okay.
was 0.
Which was zero?
Well, after, so, not 0, it was
Five.
80,
We think.
no,
It
it
was
was not,
just a little over 80,000.
yeah.
Okay, 80,000,
80,000, which-
zero,
And
And then
80,000.
that went to fund the warrant articles that were not raised by appropriations.
That funds the warrants typically
Yep.
first, and then
I
whatever's
think we should
left.
just
Yep.
get our exact numbers.
Yeah,
Okay.
we'll go circle back to it in 2 weeks.
Yeah, we should have that all next meeting.
If you see all the tabs, this is our intention to give you all this information.
Super.
Yeah, I'm sorry, we're just on textbooks and all this, so I just thought I'd ask that textbook capital reserve fund, okay.
Okay.
All right. All right, so next is our replacement furniture and fixtures. In the past, that line's been 0. That is in a pre-existing account number, but there was just anything budgeted for it. There is a request to have 4 classrooms with new desks and also an 8 by 12 foot rainbow square. I don't know what you call it, a rug, a mat, something like that. So that's what that is. So it looks like it's a $0 because there was nothing based on the budget from the previous year.
What grade is that for?
The which one, the rug? Or,
So
sorry.
the desks.
All right, yeah.
I'm assuming the desks are the majority of that cost.
Yeah, 96 of them, I think so.
Yeah, I think it's 2 for first grade, and I believe it's 2 for third grade. And then the rug is, what is that? It's
gonna be kindergarten or first grade.
I was gonna say,
I think
It's not 6
Well,
or
you don't
7.
know,
Yes, right.
you don't know nowadays, I mean,
so. Anyways, I'm wondering, is that a place where we can use impact fees to pay for these? Because the school is sitting on.
No.
I don't remember how many
Can't.
thousands.
Just replacement, you can't,
It's gotta be for new build. So like if we're building a new school, we could have used it for that.
Be nice
Does it
if
have
we
to be
could, but-
building?
Yes.
It can't be any
building.
sort of
No.
equipment or anything?
No,
All
it's
right.
not too bad.
Is there anywhere in
definitely
this?
can't be
Nothing?
replacement, no matter
Nope.
what.
All right.
I believe they tried to use those for the science room.
Right,
That
and they
couldn't
couldn't
be
because
done.
it's
It's
existing.
against the law.
Can they be used to buy like a storage shed or something?
No,
No,
has to be for students.
You have tax fees?
Pretty standard.
yeah.
Could it be used to buy a
Hang on,
storage
Tom,
shed
hang
if
on, we
it
gotta-
freed up storage room
Hold
in
up,
the
Tom,
school?
we gotta get off
No,
impact
it's gotta be,
fees.
Yep.
Tom, we gotta
No
get-
wonder you guys haven't
Stop.
spent them.
well, the original, they were originally budgeted or created for the
Yo, yo, Tim.
building of the school. That didn't pass, and so now all that money is gonna get most likely refunded.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Impact fees?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're talking about.
Lots getting.
Sorry to jump in.
There's a lot
We
that
gotta
are-
get back to page 5.
There's a lot that are expiring between now and.
The whole ordinance is created to support growth in the school, not
Yeah.
necessarily a build, but additions, changes in renovating the interior.
So that's what I meant. Like, is there a way to like
But not
for storage? Because I know
purchasing.
there's like the locker rooms are full of chairs or something, right? And storage has been an issue. So could they be used to address storage concerns to free up those rooms for instructional, like one-on-one space?
We'd have to write it up and speak with the planning board, but ultimately, the board of selectmen releases the funds. And there's been reluctance there from time to time to do that, so it really has to be growth focused.
Because I mean, if you guys could get all the stuff out of the locker rooms, you could convert those to white rooms, black rooms, whatever one-on-one spaces you need.
Or locker rooms.
No, there's,
Well,
there's,
nobody does need
idea.
Just all the physical
to the best
education
of my
budget.
knowledge, locker rooms cannot be converted from that. We even have to make sure that they're functional
Yeah, they had to
By
clean
law.
them out
But
this
they don't
summer,
get
I think.
used.
by
They-
law.
Hang on,
So they're
hang
not
on.
functional right
Everybody,
now.
We're gonna stop.
Okay.
We're gonna get back to page 5.
New
Oh, we're
equipment,
on page
regular
5.
ed. Next line.
All right, how about we do, like, does the board have any questions? I mean, you guys have done a great job with your report, but maybe. Yes, thank you. For additional information, we'll pick your brains, but maybe we'll just read through it, and then as we have questions, we'll toss those to you
Quick,
guys.
let's move.
The majority of this page on page 5, they're IEP driven, special education needs.
Okay.
On page 6, bottom of page 5 and page 6.
Is there some way in the accounting or how this is shown to show ones that are, that the budget committee would have a say in, some sort of adjustments one way or the other versus, you know, things in CBAs we know don't count.
The
A lot of
desks.
special, yeah, the desks, like I get that one, but I'm wondering, instead of us having to ask each time, is this something, what is
So-
that something? Is there a way to identify it, just so we can see it quicker,
Technically,
or is that discriminatory?
They have
Technically, you have control over
over
the entire budget.
anything.
You are.
Even the things in the CBA?
Budget
No.
committee.
No.
So,
Well, that's what I mean.
so, but this is what happens. If the budget committee changed a line, that still has to be paid, so it would not be
Right.
fiscally appropriate to reduce the line if
we
it
still
still has
could.
to be paid out. So,
Okay.
so is that what you're asking, what?
I guess, yeah,
Because, so you could reduce a line, I think, a couple of years ago with the school psychologist. We still had to pay a school psychologist. So regardless of what number was put on there, the salary of the school psychologist had to be paid some way.
But then it got
So-
paid out of a grant, right?
So had previously been paid out of a grant with SAU 44. So, but that still had to be paid. So the budget committee could say, put 20,000 there, but if it has to come out of the budget somewhere else,
If there's a contractual obligation, you
we have,
know.
we would.
Yes.
And we would, if there was a contractual obligation, we had to do it, we would have to move things around because we have line item authority.
okay.
But you are an official budget committee, so you essentially have
The bottom
say over
line.
the entire
The
bottom.
bottom
It's the
line.
bottom
Well,
line,
It's
really.
ultimately the
bottom
bottom
line.
line
Yes.
because
Yep.
But I guess,
Yeah,
okay,
my
is there a
website.
way to identify things that are federally mandated, state mandated, or already contractually agreed to?
I would love if they were shaded like a certain color by contractual and federally mandated. Because I ask so many times and the answer is federally mandated.
This is all I'm trying, because I had the same thought, and I realized I'm
Yeah, it
gonna
takes
ask
a
the
lot of
Tom
time.
question.
Yep.
We could do
Because this is
something-
always the, are we allowed to
We could do
question?
something along those lines. This paperwork would look different. The names and everything would still be the same, but it'd be like, say, Excel.
Yeah.
So they would be highlighted like. Yeah,
I mean, I think John agrees, we would love to have an Excel file. We've asked for that for a long time.
So, but ultimately, it would be most of those supplies lines, some of those
Yeah.
other lines.
That's what I'm guessing. It just would be nice to know which ones carry upfront. I think I have an idea, but it would be nice to have confirmation, I guess.
Sometimes it's surprising which ones are
Yes,
untouchable.
sometimes I get completely caught off guard. I
I'll look to
wouldn't
see
think.
what I can, see if
There's just some way to do it. It's
And I
not.
think, I mean, this is my, I won't be at another one of these meetings, but it's up to you guys, but I think in the past, it's been also subtotaled
Yeah, that would be really helpful.
by,
Function.
by function, instead of having everything and then just a bottom line, is you can see, okay, the total salaries, and then supplies, just subtotaled by, so you can see the total increase of
Given us those
supplies.
worksheets, we had seen those at the board, those subtotals by function.
Yeah. So the system can do it.
But they didn't come in this.
No, like, it goes from like 1,100 to 1,200, and there's no.
So I have,
Right, no
I have
total,
something like
subtotal.
Yeah, I didn't
Just that-
realize there was no subtotal yet, but yeah, that would make sense because we're special ed now.
Yeah, we got one of those the other week.
With the
Usually there's like a
default-
like
subtotal
that?
for regular
that was a
versus
question, nobody really
special.
said anything, nothing good, nothing bad, so I didn't know if you wanted it.
But
I don't
can-
remember at this point, sorry.
That's okay.
I think it'd be worth just.
So, 'cause that is totaled by object code, but then on that page it's.
But it was,
totaled
it was
by-
this same format,
So
it was
in-
just, it was,
Mine.
Yes, by adding the subtotals.
I think that we looked at those, and you have to be cross-referenced.
Yes, it's
So it
difficult.
would be nice if we could just get the subtotals like under 11.
Sweet.
Then you just see it
There
right
have been
across.
versions we've seen of this from Tyler that have a subtotal at the
It
end of the
has
function.
has a subtotal by, let's say, function code, but it'd be like 1100 function code. Say if there was 1110, that would be a different subtotal.
No, I think at the end of the,
We
I
used to
feel
get
like the
like
subtotals.
I think we
regular
can
ed
talk about
subtotal,
this.
Okay, we can
special
work
ed
on what-
subtotal.
Yeah, we can
I can also break it out by function codes too. Right, that way all the
I think
1100
that's what
function
they, I
codes.
thought they were called function codes,
It
but
does
it
say
didn't seem like
function.
there was tons of them.
No, it's,
No, it was after like the 1100s and,
I mean, I'm sure you have one from last year, you could probably.
yeah, I was gonna say, in last year's, I think it shows.
so it's 1100. I think that we can just show you this.
Yeah, we
This
can
is
show
what
you
the
and work on it. Is that the, how you'd like to see those totals of by function?
That's
Because,
normally
you
what
know,
we're
full,
used
yeah.
to,
Right.
so.
So there'd be,
It's up to you guys.
Okay,
I'm only
I
here
think I
tonight.
understand what Owen's asking.
Yep.
So if we go through each page, the rest of them, and say, like the supply lines, you can cut those. If your supply line, equipment line, unless they're related to special education, you can cut those. Furniture lines, you can cut those. Those are the basic ones. Salary lines,
No,
Or not even
They're
that we can
CBA.
cut them, that they are
contract.
not already previously agreed to. I guess I'm not trying to have the spin that we want to,
Check.
what do we want to cut? It's more, these are the things that are prescriptive, these are the things that
or
are
you
not.
can say, it's what, 4.24?
4.29 total.
4.29. 4.29 total with the food.
With food service,
With
yes.
food service in it. You say, this is what we want it to be. We come up with a bottom, or you say, yep, we're fine with where it is. We understand that the GMR is this, and you've done a good job preparing it this. It depends on what you want your approach to be.
If we wanted to say get it to 4%, would you prefer that we identify lines to be reduced, or would you prefer us to just reduce the bottom number and you guys figure it
We'll
out?
absolutely leave it up to us as the experts over the school and what we're doing.
I do think input.
That's what we've done in the
I mean,
past.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
we've done in
Yeah.
the past. I think if you have input onto certain things that you question or whatever, it's valuable.
And again, I think the discussion about like textbooks and some of those, I do think that's a discussion that we are having as well at the board level. So, we know what's on the radar, but yeah, any other input, in specific areas, you know, if it's something that,
And your questions are very similar to ours, like talking about the full-time sub, that's something that we brought up too. What is the value in having a full-time sub there that can humanly manipulate some of the portions during the day? Can we find a cost savings? I mean,
When you
you're right
don't have
on
a
spot
full-time
on.
sub, are you just getting somebody that floats between different districts?
No, someone that's, no, someone, mean by a full-time sub, Bill's my full-time sub, he's here every single day, no matter what. I
No, I mean, when you
call-
don't have a
When you don't
full-time
have
sub.
I'll get to that. And that person also gets the sub coordinator stipend. And right now, we pay for a software that we put out there. If someone's gonna be out, it's put into the system, and whoever is approved as a substitute, they can go online and push, yes, I'd like to do that particular substitute position. Or teachers can say, I'm gonna be out, I would prefer such and such person because they're really good at biology lab, or they manage a gym of 50 kids really well, et cetera. And
So it's
that's-
like
There's a
Uber?
sub pool.
But there's a
sub
sub-pool.
pool of
But-
approved substitute teachers.
But also within that, a teacher might have a planning period and or their prep period, and we want to be able to use the subs. The sub doesn't need a planning and prep period. So I would like the sub coordinator to be able to say, Tom, you have those 2 free periods. I'd also like you to please cover for Owen in those 2 times, versus the online program doesn't simplistically do that. So a full-time sub coordinator gets the most bang for sub usage. So, and someone's out every day. You know,
Does the
when you look at
full-time
pairs
sub
and
go
teachers.
under the collective bargaining agreement for the
No.
teachers? Okay.
And they don't fall in that contract either. They would just get first-year teacher sub pay.
So in regards to the 4.29%,
Total, yeah, for,
Total.
yeah.
so is that based on last year's budget, or is that based on last year's budget plus those whatever?
It's just
funds?
above last year's budget.
Just last year's budget.
Okay.
It's
That-
based on that 15.7 that you have in the document.
I just wanted to see where we were
Yes,
at with
we
those numbers
asked that
we
last night,
put in.
and it's just increased over last year's total budget.
Original
But
budget.
it's
Just
against
budget,
this
so
number,
not
which
against
32.
revenues or the whole
This-
Not
calculation.
Yeah, that's
Not
this year-
the-
that's this year's
not
budget.
the
And so
tax
we're
cap
not
the
calculation,
modified.
not
The school's
it's a-
revenue is probably pretty consistent though, right? Okay.
But I do think the first question of the night was looking at the 15.766 to see why it is different from.
Are you expecting a big difference?
That was
In
your first
revenue?
question.
Adequacy had changed.
Well, there's-
Estimated adequacy had changed a little bit, that's higher.
And there's just the new, the Conval lawsuit, but that could be pending for a couple
Years.
years.
And-
So that had nothing to do with our tax rate going up
No.
recently? Okay. So I've seen some people asking about
No,
that.
but you asked me, do I anticipate, depending on how that goes, yes, then we would get
That would be
significantly
significant,
more.
probably.
The only other
Right.
note that I can feel positive about right now is interest income went up a little bit. Are we looking at a higher interest rate?
Yeah.
So last year's budget was 1,500. I budgeted 5,000. We've already hit 5,000 this year.
And that's interest on our unspent fund balance?
It would be the bank account,
What's in the bank account?
like money in the bank interest.
Is that different than the unspent funds?
Well, we get that. We get the funds when they write us the check. We put it in the bank account. So yes. The answer to your question is yes. That would be the unspent
Okay.
funds. Yeah.
It's encumbered, but not,
Yes.
The-
So
the town writes a
The
check.
town writes a check of so much in lump sums, and then it's in the bank account,
Gotcha.
collecting interest. Yeah.
And spent.
Drawn
But then it
from,
gets drawn down, and then another lump comes
I
in,
think every
and
2 weeks
taxes
is
are.
when
Yep.
she writes us a check.
Okay. So for time.
Anything else
So
on
just
page?
for the presentation, are you just, you want to stop going page by page and just have general questions? Or
Well, yeah, maybe
Well,
we'll
then
still
we'll
go,
keep
we'll
the
still go
questions
page
in
by
order?
page.
Yeah.
We'll definitely keep the questions going. We,
Pull up the
Yep.
highlight, just to
yeah,
highlight.
you guys, if you guys have any highlights, we just,
There's
Yeah,
something maybe you
progressive.
want to explain on any given
Right.
page, and then we can look through it.
The zero change lines are not as exciting.
Yes.
okay, page 9, the 35%
wait,
down.
we're still on page 6.
Whoa, let's get back to page 6 there.
I flipped too many pages, sorry.
Got excited there.
So I tried.
Good try.
Anybody else? Anything on page 6? Page 7.
Well, actually, I do have something to note with the page 6 and page 7.
Okay.
Is the admin assistant for student services was originally in the 1200 function code. She was moved to the 2100 function code because she is not student facing, so she's not
So that's why it went from a number down to 0?
Yes.
And then the other one would increase accordingly?
Yes.
We
Got
discussed
it.
some of those at default, how a couple of those
Yeah, I
positions
remember.
have moved.
Oh, that's right. Now that you're saying it, that does sound familiar. Yeah.
So that'll show up there.
And then there's several more, yeah. Yeah, there it is.
Try to know it the best I could.
Yep, no, I see them all, the move to 2100.
Yep.
Yeah.
Longevity thing again.
On, if you could just explain to me, page 7, 01, 1200, 52280, FICA/ESY. What is that?
Extended school year.
Okay.
Children that have written into their IEP that without services in the summer, that they would experience learning loss. That's called
We used to
extended
call it
school year services.
Summer school.
So who's ever delivering, summer school for special education.
Okay.
That, I could, if you just, that salary is actually on page 6, so that's just the,
FICA cost.
the FICA that goes along with the salary. That's back on 125120, 80 is the ESY salaries, which are just additional. So all of those,
Oh, yep.
So
Just
that
with every
whole
salary, the
category,
FICA.
ESY category, it's broken out in a couple spots. So like retirement has an ESY category too.
Okay, anything else on page 7? Page 8.
Bill, I'm going to ask a question. The very last section on page 8, special ed tuition CBNA move-ins, are we going to remove that line as well? Because we removed the other move-ins, would we want to remove that line?
Makes sense, yeah.
Yep.
Me.
Why is, special ed para public HS, why is that one going up 306%?
Are you on page 8?
Middle of page 8,
Oh,
yeah.
I see it right there. So those are services that we pay to Co-Brown or.
It's based upon
Dover.
need.
It's based on the current need.
It could be either, right, other school?
It's either school. So it's based on the current need. There's a student there that we pay services for paras. Because they might need to be one-on-one instead of one-on-two.
You might only need 1, you might need 5 1 year.
Right, but how's it tripling?
Well,
It's
Based on
based on the current
IEPs.
need.
Because of the need, yeah.
Right.
so if
In high school, it could be other,
2 or 3 students
So it
moved
could be-
into, or like went from 8th grade into 9th grade, or,
Pullbacks
or moved in, and they need a 1-to-1, the district pays for that
So
at
it's
the high
like
school.
40, 50,000 per student?
Well, it would be a paraprofessional salary.
Their whole salary.
Is that on
Okay,
top of the tuition, the regular
Yes,
tuition
yes,
amount?
yep.
So it's like 60,000 per student?
Depends, they hire and we pay.
That's
Oh.
how our agreement is with the
So
high
they-
schools.
It depends on the
Alright.
needs, because each
four
one's
or
gonna be
something,
different.
'cause it could be from
Depends,
different.
depending on this,
It's again IEP driven, depending on the needs of the student.
so that's what how it's in the contracts with the high schools.
With Co-Brown, we don't have to pay, if we are paying for a one-to-one, we don't have to pay the higher tuition rate for special ed. Because there's rates, we pay different, for different levels of service, so if there's a one-on-one with that contract, we don't have to pay the higher.
Is the amount that we're paying Co-Brown for these paras similar to the amount we're paying our own paras?
I think it's similar, but the thing is, it's not just Co-Brown, this is the high schools.
Okay.
All the high schools.
Sorry, the one below it said Dover, so I got
Right.
confused.
That's
but-
the special ed
Tuition.
tuition.
Okay. Yeah.
And we pay for tiers at Dover, which,
There's
Where a
notes.
student would fall in service tiers.
So the paras are on top of the tuition.
Do we have any students that are tuitioned out to residential facilities?
Yeah, that would be the out-of-district
Out-of-district.
placement.
What is a residential facility?
For instance, like a school for the deaf,
They stay there.
something like that.
or in schools that are out of district. that
Starfish.
they
There are
are
out-of-district.
Boarding school.
Transported.
Well, for special need, yeah, not,
Yeah,
Okay.
not
for-
like Phillips Exeter, you know.
Actually, if you look at
Special
one of the
need, autistic.
tabs, reads special education out of district placement and transportation information. These should be like the orange one at the very bottom. There's information about that behind it.
Thank you.
Oh, look at that.
It's populated, cool.
Got something, right?
That is, yeah. And that's just for one student per year.
Which one?
So each student is listed, obviously, with non-identifying information, but the tab, special ed, out-of-district placement, transportation. So it shows some of those costs broken down a little bit.
So we are actually saving quite a bit of money when we can keep a child
If they stay
in
over
the
with
school
paraprofessional,
district with a
or in-
paraprofessional and the special services, we save a ton of money. Yeah.
So it's like almost 600,000 for 6 students.
Yeah, that's the.
Yeah.
That's what we
Totals in
always
there.
try to give them the least restrictive environment.
Which would be within one of our schools with support.
But the least restrictive environment is not necessarily the most efficient.
Well, it's
It's mandated to give them a.
I know we're mandated, yeah.
But they need to be in the least restrictive
Yeah.
possible.
but also getting their needs met, so there comes a point where, out-of-district placement is the best place for the student.
Unfortunately, that's expensive, but
Yes.
it's what's ever best for them.
Thank you.
And legally mandated.
Anything else on page 8?
Nothing on 9.
Are we on page 9 now?
Page 9.
All right. Look at that. You caught right up.
Speeding through.
Lightning fast.
Are these different testing and supplies and software than what we had talked about earlier?
Special education.
Okay, so those weren't covered in the first lines, okay.
So this is where there would be a new function, right, in the middle of,
Yes.
so the 1,200's of special ed.
Here?
1,200's are special ed.
1,200 is
Oh,
special ed. I
great.
am so sorry, yes.
And,
1,400s is other instruction.
all right, so the 1,299, is that still part of special ed too? Okay. Other instruction, is that what you said?
1,400, yes.
So that's where the stipends are.
Can I just take a picture of that and I'll read it at my leisure? Oh, okay. Thank you.
There's a 20-page document on the town website that has it.
Fun.
Anything on
Some
page
light reading
9?
before bed tonight.
Yeah, that'll put you out.
Put you to sleep.
Page 10.
Yet the stipends did not really change in the
Place other.
latest contract, so.
Oh, uniforms.
With replace other, is it normal for the school to pay for athletic wear for students?
For
Yeah.
the
Uniforms.
uniforms.
Because they're reused year to year.
Yeah, they're used.
They
over and
reuse
over.
them every year, but they eventually kind of wear some.
Right,
Oh,
do you guys do that cyclically too with the?
Yeah, you look
No.
at the teams, the athletic teams, and you look.
Oh, do you mean on a
get
cycle?
multiple
On a
years
cycle,
of
right.
wear out of a uniform.
Right.
I have not
the new
looked
one.
at them, when I've been on the board, on a cycle of,
There's not a-
this year we're buying
Every year
soccer,
they
and
come
this
to us and they
next
say
year.
the volleyball uniforms are 6 years
So-
old and they need to be.
Right.
All right, so
But
that,
there's not,
Based-
So it's not a regular
official
cycle.
Cycle.
Yeah.
right, it's not official, but it's considered,
Depends
Somebody
on how,
knows which ones the oldest are.
depends on how often the 8th grade boys wash the uniforms between games.
They last a long time, don't they?
Give it a few years, they'll figure out how to make the uniforms a subscription service that expires.
that's called a uniform service? Yeah. We have that on the,
I was gonna
I
say,
pay for that at work.
I think
Yep.
they've had uniform services for a long time.
That's an line item.
That's really cool.
It's in the town budget.
Anything else on page 10 here? How we doing?
What about the salary for summer activities?
Oh, academy.
Summer academies, that used to be summer school, that was used to
Academies,
be
I'm
in the 1100 function code for regular education salaries. That was broken out because that is other instruction, it's not regular school year instruction.
Okay.
So that 10,000 was already part of that line before, it's just broken out.
So is that the program that Miss Beatty taught, the,
No, so there's two. You have Summer Institute
yeah,
is the enrichment type program. Summer academies, or like kindergarten academy, the students who are not special education, ESY, but still need maybe some summer help. So sometimes those kids, before they go to kindergarten, are recommended at screening to go to kindergarten academy to get a little boost before kindergarten. So they have summer school that is not special education driven. So
Or
that's
continued intervention.
And then wanted to change the name from summer school to summer academy.
okay.
So that came out of a different line. Did that line go down by $10,000?
It would be the
teacher
very
salary
first
line?
line, the regular education 1100 function
Yeah.
code. It was built in there last year.
Okay.
So I think
From
So-
line 1.
yeah, line 1 on page 1. And then the same would be with FICA, and retirement would be reflective of that as well.
I had a quick question on this teacher retirement for summer, new line account, it said.
For that same thing.
That's all for that summer,
Academy.
for the summer
Oh,
academy.
okay.
So that's like a whole new section, basically.
Section,
Yeah, broken out. Unfortunately, there's only so much wording that can fit on that page, and it just cuts off whenever it wants to cut off. So I know it just says summer, but it actually is typed in there, summer academies.
So I know we used to have like subsection totals in here, like
Yes,
regular.
that's what it's
Yeah, you know, but I meant, so how do we add up like total salary numbers since they've been distributed all over the budget now?
Talking about from the previous years?
Sure, I mean, just in general, now there's 10,000 that got taken out and put here, 10 pages later.
Well, I'm gonna, for the next meeting, I'm gonna, when I update this with any changes, it's gonna have subtotals on it.
Okay.
And then you can make note of the kind of just generally line item, material line item.
Yeah, I will
changes
find
that
ways.
made a
I'll
difference.
double check to see.
So this used to have 10,000 in it, and that's sort of, because you can see some.
I more meant like
Oh,
like a total that's not just for a
If
section.
you do it by object versus function, would it pull out salaries together, or still not?
Object would be salaries.
So there's a function code, and then there's the object code, so all the numbers mean stuff, but I don't know. But if you could, if you did by object, then it could do all the salary lines, right?
Okay.
Because they're the same kind
Oh,
of
right.
numbers, but in the different functions, 14, 12, 22.
Yeah, that's what I said.
But you could
So
just
I
pull out
think if
salary.
he runs a report on objects, I think he could total the salary.
And that's encoded in that number, the long number in the beginning?
Yeah,
they're all
okay.
listed.
Gotcha.
I think so.
Maybe.
I think so.
They're
I
at
think
51.
I remember a report he'd
Yeah,
given us by
5110.
object and by function, and I think the object tracks kind of the.
Looks like it.
If he
Yeah,
gives it to
That's what
us,
I was,
Like,
that's what I was
special ed
wondering.
is a certain starting number, but the next numbers mean what the job is,
So
what
the
it's
third
for.
string that
Yeah,
begins with a
5110.
5, that's the start of the
is
object codes.
Salary code.
if we get it in Excel, you could do whatever you want with it.
Yep.
What are you saying, John?
Okay, page 10, anything else?
So this is the guidance section, right? This is like
Guidance, nursing,
So there's two guidance counselors.
yes.
Now, is this the section that last year in the line notes, we saw a bunch of spending on SEL stuff? That's through the guidance?
Yeah.
Purchases.
So because I don't notice those in the notes anymore, so what lines are covered by that? Or what lines does that spending fall into?
I'm not sure what you're talking.
Remember social emotional learning, right?
Yeah.
But
SEL,
was
and then
it
there was
a-
another one.
Because I know it was specifically called out last year. It was like training for it or,
Is it a DEI was another one?
It's the 21-20 area
CL,
on the last
DEI.
budget. It was
Supplies
15,
guidance.
16.
Yeah, so The 97% drop in enrichment
It was in enrichment.
on page 11.
That could be it.
Yeah, has that been dropped?
Those are all the,
Looks like they put 2,000 in, only spent 275.
Yeah, and this year only asking for 50.
So we moved away from that SEL stuff then?
I hope not.
I think that SEL is still a big component of the guidance curriculum.
So where would that be, where would the money being spent on that be?
I'm unsure, I'm trying to figure out what.
Well, it was back here and it was in the white room.
Talk
And
about
it
the
was in one of
sensory
these
room.
supplies.
so maybe some of the supplies for guidance got mixed in with the,
And integrated in individual classrooms, guidance teachers come in and use supplies in the classrooms, that teachers are finding that they have to be attentive to that, be a trauma-informed school, deal with student needs every single day as they enter their classrooms. And then guidance in addition, in small groups or in one-on-one group settings, provide social emotional needs of children as well. When teachers go into the classrooms, for example, as part of health classes, as part of guidance services, they might have groups like support from Haven coming in, crisis prevention, and those don't necessarily cost anything, or it's $13 per child per se, and students who want to participate in that pay their $13. We use money from student activities. So looking to provide those without necessarily having supplies here. Those are my guesses without.
So the SELs, it's not one particular line somewhere in guidance, it's, the SEL is kind of integrated throughout all the classrooms and the teaching here.
That's my understanding at the current moment, but we can certainly ask about that.
Okay.
I don't see it here.
To answer
I
your
thought they were new
question,
positions, weren't they?
No, there was
Last
no
year, 2 years
position.
ago?
I don't
The line
recall.
he's talking about last year, this is last year, the budget we're in right now. 5610, 2120, 5610, $500. That's the line that has supplies to focus on social, emotional, and learning growth. That's what you're
Find
referring
that.
Are you referring to
Where
the
are you?
SEL
to. And
coordinator?
it's right, so it's still the same.
Is that a different thing than the guidance counselor?
That, I think there was
Yeah.
a couple years ago, when we first started SEL, I think there was additional stipend for an SEL coordinator, and that's for the beginning through
think he
COVID.
specifically, I mean, I answered specifically.
Yeah.
He had a question about
No, it's
last year's.
500.
It's the same line,
and
the same number,
And what it said, and that's it, it's 56.
5610.
Well, because that was the
Yeah.
first I had heard of it being spelled out in a budget, so I
Of
didn't know if it
social
was,
emotional
if, I
learning.
didn't know if it was being new introduced last year or not.
It became.
No, I
It's under
think that's-
guidance supply.
That's guidance supplies.
Yeah. So last year was specifically called out under that line that I just shared with you.
And that's level, that's just staying the same? So that's still for SEL supplies?
A portion of it, yeah.
What portion, do we know?
I'm looking.
Large portion, small?
It's a $500 item. So,
Can't be too large in total, at
right.
least.
Hasn't really gone up.
No.
Gone up. Stayed the same, so I'm not sure. It just was maybe specified that's what it was last year.
That's last year
That it
was
said
in there, but I
SEL.
think it is infused throughout.
Yeah, that's my takeaway from this, is that the SEL is being infused into all the stuff around the school.
It does, it's not spelled out in my data. So it's probably the same as last year's, my assumption.
All right.
Guidance software.
I think that was software too that was spelled out last year for 504s.
It's called Acuity.
Yeah.
Sorry, what?
Software called Acuity for the creation and monitoring of 504s.
So if there was 2 504s this year, and there was one last year, the number would double?
No.
No.
It's just the
No, it's just for the
software.
software.
Oh, it's just the
it is.
licensing
So-
doubled?
What it
Sorry.
actually,
What's a 504?
It's a accommodation plan for
It's like an IEP?
Special needs?
It's an ADA
American with
accommodation.
Disabilities Act.
American with
Okay.
Disabilities Act.
Life-altering physical state.
So nothing was spent last year on it, that's all. It's like and we're budgeting 1,000, and we're budgeting 2,000.
So what it is I was actually looked into that today. So last year's budget for 1,000 was supposed to, I think was supposed to be actually 2,000 because we did pay the bill for it this year, and it was, we had 2 POs open for it, so which made me look into it. It was $2,000 for this year, so it's $2,000 again next year. I don't know why it was budgeted for $1,000 last year.
Well, it looked like it was budgeted for 1,000 the year before, but nothing was spent in it, so it was probably carried forward.
It hit a different line. It was paid for out of the wrong line,
Okay,
because it was $2,000.
Gotcha.
Okay.
all right. An accounting problem.
Yes.
That software we shared with 44 previously? Or have we always had that? That would
Oh.
always
I don't
been
know, but
additional
Equity is
there.
we were told Equity is the program.
I know some
and
of
that
the
we
ones we
looked at
got
was
when we
2,000.
first switched, we had some savings initially,
Maybe split costs.
and then I think the cost of
That might be why $1,000 was done previously.
Maybe.
I
Because
think
it
it might
was,
have
the
been.
budget was already created when it was with.
That's my recollection, I
Right.
feel like
Yeah.
we maybe shared that
Yeah.
somewhere,
That makes
and then
sense.
have to take on the full
That makes
cost
a lot
of
of
it.
sense, yep.
Yeah.
Okay. But it got billed to the wrong line, so it's really confusing.
But it is actually,
We know
2,000.
What's that?
The actual is 2,000 for the software.
Yes.
Yeah.
So a question, I might be jumping ahead, I didn't see it yet. Sue, I remember last year there was a budget line, you guys were gonna do a survey of the town. It was,
Some additional funding
Yeah.
into one of the school board, into the school board.
was it a school board? Okay.
It's coming up.
To
So we're not there
do
yet?
outreach,
Okay,
for communication.
yeah.
And it's an area that we're looking at right now.
So nothing's been,
Nothing yet,
okay,
no.
all right.
Do we have a list of these dues and fees guidance? Where that's going?
Page.
Back on page 11.
On page 11,
Still on
smack dab in the
Oh,
middle.
sorry.
So I keep flipping back
Trying
and
to
forth
go
and looking
ahead,
at stuff,
hang
and then
on.
I forget where we are. Really.
Very much.
I do not, you want dues and fees guidance?
Let's find out. I will make her-
Can I also get, I don't know if you guys have it yet, I asked for a list of the other dues and fees, like there was like school board dues and fees and
There's more coming up.
Can we just get like a big list?
Of all the dues and fees.
Yeah.
It's under each area.
Ours is to the New Hampshire School Boards Association. We mostly use it for policy services. And they have webinars and things for like training. But mostly it's around policies, so when the legislature changes and their state mandated policy changes, they do a whole book with all changes and updated policies.
The nurse is coming up, it's NHSNA and NASN.
Just a couple of
National
acronyms.
Association of School Nurses, New Hampshire School Nurse Association.
And professional certification renewal.
That's how she gets her certifications.
Anything else on page 11?
Those are parts of page 11 and 12.
Page 12 then.
And travel nurse hasn't been used for a while?
Maybe if she had
it
to
has not.
transport someone somewhere. or she
No,
took a
no, traveling
workshop
nurse, I
or-
think is, oh, travel for nurse, yeah. No, it has not.
Oh, is that what it, oh, I
It's
sound like
travel
a
for-
traveling nurse.
No, it's travel foreigner. It's like,
Okay,
yeah.
gotcha.
She had to go someplace.
Thank you.
Again, bottom of page 12, ESL, psych, behavior tech. Those are all contracted service providers per IEPs. We don't have those in-house. We share those with others, and those are our portions of what we pay. They are not part of a CBA.
So ESL is
that-
down, your ESL, English as a second language,
Yes.
that's down to 0.
We don't have anyone getting that service at this time.
The school psychologist one, was that the one, Megan, you had mentioned that we had lowered in the past?
That was one of the services when we broke from 44, that needed to be funded in our budget.
We get it through SL.
Right, but when we, originally, I think the discussion of putting the school psych in our budget, not sharing it under 44 services, that's, I think, where there was discussion of, we were trying to hire a part-time
I have
person.
a list, there were a couple of areas where we had shared costs with SAU 44. I'm not sure that was one. I thought each school had kind of their own, but I'm not sure.
So I don't remember it as a shared cost thing. I remember there was an issue, there was a grant, I don't know if it was federal or state, but it paid for this thing. If you didn't have money funded or you couldn't afford or whatever, one of these things, this grant would pay for it. And the school had been using that, but then they wanted to budget that. And we had cut, I don't think we cut the whole thing. I think we cut it in half, or we cut it from 60 to 20.
It was around the school.
Is it
It was.
I'm not positive, but was it IDEA that you did it? Because you can only use that for 3 years, and you're supplanting your budget versus supplementing it. If you had services and your budget was cut, for example, a school district might put services in for 3 years, and then you take it out and put your operating budget and maybe put 3 paraprofessionals or something to take the place of a school psych. And it's not that it's cut, but.
My recollection is it did have to do with 44 and how I think some of the grants through 44, because there were multiple districts,
But
I
by the
think we
end,
shared.
We had separated
We,
ourselves.
we had, right, but I believe we were not paying a full-time person. So I think that there was some discussion when we were separating what we needed for a school psych in person to be hired by the district, not by 44, I believe. Are our school psychs?
It
I don't know.
seems like, I could be wrong, but that was still part of the grants that we were disentangling last year. I could be wrong, but.
My guess is this is the right line because it's a $20,000 flat, exact, even figure, which
Yes,
sounds like we reduced
Which I
it.
think that was not necessarily a
It's
salary.
24, 40, 53, 21.
5321, and I think it was a just round dollar amount that was agreed upon, at the budget committee level of what to fund for that.
Yep.
And I don't fully recall the conversation, I just do know that, we have had to contract that anyway. We were not able to hire, we tried to hire for a part-time school psychologist, and it was very difficult to find.
Okay, well, it's down by 5,000,
But
so
yeah, and it's
looks
based
good.
on student needs, so that's really good, if that's.
That is good. Thank you.
Like, what's the next one down? Contract service? Behavior tech?
Yep, and so based on student need.
Okay.
How is that different? How does that differ from the psychologist?
It's a BCBA,
Board certified.
You're gonna have to explain that
Board
one.
certified
behavior analyst. So my daughter does.
Is it required?
They,
or is it-
yes,
for behavior
it's
services
IEP
to
driven.
students.
So they come in and the way you have it set up, I think they work with the teachers to help.
They write the scripts for what children need for interventions to deter behaviors.
Scripts like prescriptions?
No, behavior
No.
plans.
A behavior plan
plans.
to support a
Not a
student.
doctor.
To,
Prescriptive behavior plans.
yes, to help the student's
kids aren't
behavior.
disruptive and to try to help them acclimate to the classroom better.
So sometimes that person writes a plan that then the paraprofessional is carrying out every day with that student, but, a certified behavior specialist comes in, analyzes, and can make recommendations and things like that, and can work with students.
Particularly for autistic children, severe autistic children, or children with severe ADD needs that need redirection. And the hope is to get them integrated into the classroom as much as possible.
So these are contracted like hourly?
Sometimes it's yes, usually it's hourly, and it might be an individual, or it could be through a company like Birch's or Constellations, sometimes whoever you can get, because it's highly sought after with so many identifications in the sensory area.
So we've got it through
Stratford Learning Center, which
Stratford-
is
yeah,
actually
Stratford
why
Learning
you'll probably see the savings and not mine.
She works for them.
I do work for Stratford Learning Center, I'm sorry. But the Stratford Learning Center, because we belong to them as a district, we get a different rate than paying a hourly person.
Or an
And
individual.
so if you look at the 23 actuals, I think that we were paying not through SLC, so.
And is this something where we're required to use one of these board certified
Yeah,
behavioral
that'll be
somethings?
written in the IEP plan.
Yeah.
Anything else on page 12? 13.
Salary speech, is that for one person?
Two.
Why is it called salary if they're contracted?
Where are you looking?
The salary speech.
Speech is not
Speech is
contracted.
not contracted, they're part of the CBA agreement.
Okay, all right, oh, because there's no, the subsection thing, okay.
Yeah.
Got it,
That's CBA, like the teacher's CBA, or
Yeah,
a separate
they're
one?
Teacher CBA,
They're
yes.
part of the teachers.
We only have 2 CBAs, if that's helpful. Paras and teacher educators.
Teachers encompasses most of the,
How many people are not covered by a CBA?
I don't have that number.
Like the
them.
custodians, I'm assuming?
Custodians, food
The
service.
principal, the assistant principal?
Clerical, admin.
Secretaries.
No.
Thought you meant the actual number.
Administrative, like the.
SAU admin.
Administrators, custodians, contracted service providers.
Food service.
and
Director.
secretarial.
13?
Not much.
That's 13.
13's all prescribed.
Same, it's 14 is very similar.
It's all the
13's all
FICA and
contractual.
retirement.
Yeah, most of this is salary.
Mostly 14's contractual.
FICA, yeah, all that jazz.
And page 14 is where you were gonna see the student services admin assistant.
Yes, that's the one we had talked about earlier. Yep, got it.
Page 15, the increases are due, just FICA and teacher retirement due to increases. Summer staff curriculum increases.
Summer staff curriculum, what is this? This is,
More curriculum.
Each summer we offer teachers to come and work on curriculum. They get stipends to do that as a curriculum review. That is
don't we
my
have a
understanding.
curriculum director? Isn't that what they do all year round, full-time?
The curriculum director works on it, but the curriculum director doesn't tell teachers, this is what you have to teach and this is how you teach it and here's your lesson plan, this is what you do. Teachers come in and review that and participate together and develop units together on how they're going to deliver curriculum.
The note about the retirement rate, I've seen it several times, that 19.64. That is not the rate at which people are retiring, that is the contribution
That's the
rate.
contribution
Right.
rate.
Set by the state.
That's the total, but that's the school's contribution of their total salary, or is that the total? Because they personally contribute some and then the school
No,
contributes some,
yeah,
right? So that's,
how that works is it's based off salary, so
Yeah.
the district pays 19.64% of their salary.
Yeah.
While the employee themselves pays 7% into that as well.
got it, okay.
That is an
So
increase
it's,
this
that's
year.
just the 19% that the school is contributing
Exactly,
to it.
yes.
So if we wanted to calculate, the total cost of a position with benefits and fringe and everything,
That would be part of it.
we'd have to add up, we'd add the 19% of the salary, we'd add the health insurance, the dental, all the other ones, right?
Total compensation.
Yeah.
pay.
Salaries and benefits.
Is that included on the,
I thought it was
usually
around
there's like a
140.
staff list with stuff. Oh, that's empty. Okay. Can that be on there?
It will be.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no,
Tonight's
that-
night one.
Yeah, we're just focused on the budget proposal, but all that information should be there for next year.
We'll bring it to you whole punch and you can add it to your book.
And then for people's convenience, can you also adjust them to match a 52-week work year? Like, we've done the number before. I forget exactly what it was,
If you have an
but
example of that, if you happen to have one, that'd be great. I'll look at it. see
I'll
if-
email it to you.
Okay.
Okay. Page 15, anything else?
Sixteen is continued positions, very similar.
Life insurance, retirement.
salary.
17 gets to library costs, library supplies, books, periodicals, reference books. The biggest one being the increase in library supplies. I'm going to look that up for you.
So for the library general supplies, the biggest jump would be replacement equipment, which would be, even though it is replacement equipment, it is a Joy Carpets Mindful setting. So they put it in library supplies. There's not really a replace. I mean, you could do a library replacement equipment right there, but that's the big jump. It would be $584.66.
For what is that?
Rug.
It's a replacement equipment, Joy Carpets Mindful Seating. It's looks like a 10 foot 9 inch by 7 by 8 foot. Sorry, 7 foot by 8 inch.
It's high quality. Joy Carpets makes good stuff. Yeah.
It's where the kids sit on the floor. It currently has 25 spots. It's quite worn. She's looking for a replacement, which will allow 30 spots for the students on the floor where they all gather to review their choices and read,
For a
etc.
rug, $500 rug?
Like I said, it's high quality.
Well, yeah.
It means
so-
expensive.
Larger.
Doesn't stain easily.
The students sit on it, I mean, they're sitting on it.
It's the same ones they have in bowling alleys, essentially, the same carpeting. It's meant to be abused heavily. Stuff spilled on it.
So why is it not under replacement equipment?
Because it's not the carpet, it's a rug that goes on top of the carpet, I think, would be my guess.
Right,
We just
right.
did the, remember we
It's
spent 30,000?
interchangeable, that one. You can put it in either spot.
Would you like us to put it in the
I
other
mean,
spot?
if it's replacing the current one, it would make sense as opposed to it being
It's a rug, it's just
Right.
gonna lay down apparently over.
Yeah.
And we replaced the.
right. It's the rug
Rug
that's
in the library.
in the library, that extra rug thing that I've seen.
Takes a lot of use.
Yeah, good. The kids, that's fine. The kids,
Yep.
it's like,
Okay, so we just move it to replacement equipment?
yeah. I mean, it's just like the furniture, those desks who are being replaced for.
Yeah, because we just did that library over.
What's the difference in library, what's the difference between books and reference books?
Books like the different genres that kids would read, reference books, be more like encyclopedias or things that they would be looking at.
National Geographic.
National Geographic
Those are the
or.
periodicals.
Oh, and you phase those out.
Yes, yes. All right, so give me a second.
I threw it all off, Tim.
Yeah.
That's what
Can
you
we
did.
add a periodicals line
We're
item,
showing
please?
our age.
It's quality information about various countries with maps and photos. Also offers activities for countries available for use by all staff and students.
Reference book, World Book Online, trustworthy resources for teachers, students, Spanish language databases, trivia games.
I see library dues and fees. It now has something in it. Where's that going?
It says.
Does it?
Below there.
Association of School Libraries.
Do we know if they're associated with the American Library Association, or is it a totally separate thing?
I do not know that answer.
Probably separate.
It's like National Teachers Association or NEA, American Federation of Teachers, or.
Isn't it awful? There's so many different.
So what new services are we getting out of this $83 membership?
I don't know.
Membership allows access to journal subscriptions, professional development, and discounted rates to conferences.
So can we lower any of our other books or reference books supplies to account for the new free access to?
Well, it's for
reference
the
materials?
librarian, not
For
for
the
the
librarian,
students.
not
Right, not the students.
I think it's important, particularly in this age of curriculum review and book recommendations, that she stays adept and abreast of the latest books and the content of the books. it's a hot topic.
Do the books wear out this quickly? Do we
I
need
don't think it's
6,000
about-
of them every year?
I don't think it's about books wearing out, I think it's about book selection.
Writers write new books. You kind of get those new books.
Well, there's only finite space in the library, so which books are we throwing out?
Old ones.
Probably ones that are not being accessed anymore,
And they move to the teachers' rooms.
or to the teachers' classrooms.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, the teachers' classrooms.
will take some of them, and then newer things are in the
They
library.
have the-
And we can ask.
Yeah, but
I mean, are we spending all that? Because it looked like in 2023, it was, the actuals was only 3,700. I don't know what the actuals are for 24, I couldn't find them.
This is for a library book still?
Yeah.
I can find out. Yeah, I can find out.
Because it went up from 6,300 to 6,500, even though they only spent like half of that. That's kind of weird.
I have a theory about why that happened, but I don't know the definite. I know there was a freeze on the budget last year for some of the, at the school. So some of the supplies that maybe she was gonna order, she couldn't order because she wasn't allowed to spend money.
There was the, you know, the library computer software went up a ton, was a lot more than the budget, so that's
So she probably
probably,
underspent.
she probably underspent the books because she got that software instead.
For the Destiny Fallout, I think you're exactly right, John. Do you remember hearing that?
The computer software line?
Yeah.
I think it was for
And the
Destiny
actuals.
Fallout.
Yeah, last year we had notes under these. So for the reference books, it said online reference materials such as advanced reference suite, country reports, and World Book, Early World. And under software was $908 for the annual Follett School Library System.
Right, but they spent 3,500.
Well, it was 500 for overdrive, so that we had notes, but I don't know.
You're talking about he's talking about the actual spent. I can find out.
Oh, yeah.
I'll see if I can look into it and find out what's spent.
Because she wanted something different in software, so she didn't buy as much in books.
Right,
She underspent one to overspend another.
right. And that's, so the question becomes, is that a subscription or something that, because the budget doesn't represent
What was
that?
Destiny Fallout? Was it 908?
I'll look into that.
So moving on to page 18, I see we have a new position for a webmaster.
It was actually not new. It was put into a different account line before. The stipend itself is not new, but the line item is.
Isn't that something that the technology director would just take care of?
It's been done by the same person for a while.
I'm sorry, I was reading this note.
Webmaster.
What is it, webmaster?
Yeah, page 18.
18 at the top.
Just given its own line, no.
Okay.
Anything else on page 18? 19. New equipment tech. There's a line for new equipment / tech on page 19. Is that a new, or just wasn't spent, or was it spent
It says it
somewhere
right
else?
below it. It says 5,000 for AV equipment for deliberative.
It had been rented in the past, we've had conversation whether we're going to rent it or purchase our own.
Ah, I see.
Because it's like $7,000 a year for someone to come in and set it up for the deliberative session.
Board hasn't decided yet, but he put it in the budget.
Wow.
So the internet access was you know, we saved a little money there on this from 2023. they took a big increase for the budget, and then a bigger one, so I don't know how.
We're negotiating with them. We were at the technology conference last week and they were there. And I know that Kevin was aggressively speaking with them.
Aggressively.
At the very first line at the top of the page.
The internet.
This 300 megabit fiber internet connection, what is your current usage? Your current bandwidth usage?
Where are you, Tom?
He's talking about the.
Internet access.
The notes under that.
You're paying for a 300 megabit line, which is very large, and I'm wondering, are you actually using that? Do you actually need that? That's it. It seems excessive.
Well, if you figure how many Chromebooks we have and iPads and teachers and the laptops, we keep.
Is everybody watching Netflix at once?
Game of Thrones.
We do not watch Netflix usually, but it takes a lot of usage during the day.
Unless you're
But I
unless
can-
you're streaming video, that you can't be using 300 megabits.
I can't speak to that. I am not a techie, but we can certainly ask him.
I am, and I can tell you that's a lot of bandwidth.
Obviously, you know more than me by all means.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could just check into it.
We can just find out.
You can ask, but I've heard from my kids when they're doing the testing, there's videos sometimes in the testing and or when they're doing projects, there's videos they have to watch and then react to it, and sometimes it will crash.
They don't,
Yeah, but that
they
could be
don't-
the testing site.
No.
But there's no more carts with a DVD or a video, VHS, where the kids watch on that. They're
I'll watch
watching.
on there.
They're
We
all
have to have
watching videos.
reliability of our internet access.
Right. I would love if you could just ask Consolidated here what your monthly bandwidth usage is, and we can just divide that out, and we can see if this is a reasonable number.
Just asking about if you know about the deliberative equipment, so if the school buys that equipment, so you wouldn't be paying for the services anymore, would that equipment have the ability to not record, but deliver the deliberative live to people to watch from home?
That would be part of the plan, yes.
Okay.
Would it be usable then for the school board meetings and stuff as well?
That's my plan, yeah.
So then for the town deliberatives, they're thinking we cut that from our budget, but would it save us money because we'd be able to use that
Maybe
equipment?
we could share. the
That's
computers.
what I'm thinking.
Anything else on 19?
Well, and there's lots of notes to go through.
Okay.
What is Vector PD Tracking Certified Staff PD Tracking Solution? Is it police department?
No, professional development.
Okay.
Vector is the accreditation, well, not the accreditation, but it is the professional development system
yeah.
that tracks and approves for professional development for staff.
How people get their certification, paras and teachers.
Making sure they're up to date, nobody's lagging behind.
Do you have a resource officer in the school? Okay. Just wondering.
Making such great momentum. Are we ready for page 20?
Almost. Oh, yeah, Zoom phone and video system, $12,000. How many Zoom subscriptions do we still have?
Let's see if that's noted here. That is network software, right? Yeah.
So
Network
last,
software.
I was looking at tech replacement too, tech replacement equipment.
Shoot.
That one seems nice.
that's fine.
It says provides voicemail. Yeah, okay. Make sure I'm reading the right line. Provides voicemail for all staff and console phones for 15 users.
It's not a breakdown of users.
Do you guys use the voicemail services in these phones? None of this covers like what we would think of as Zoom.
No.
The school doesn't have any more Zoom.
Actual-
No,
Well, yeah, but the actual phone itself is also Zoom itself.
Yeah, the phone's is Zoom, but yes, do we Zoom with it? Yes. For example, last night, it was not working well.
we're paying $12,000 a year and it doesn't work.
No, because we've changed our email, so we
That
do
was-
use it.
That was you, that wasn't Zoom, that was YouTube.
Oh.
Our Zoom wasn't talking to our YouTube. It is on our Zoom.
So to confirm, are we still paying for Zoom licenses that are like what we would think of as Zoom, where you have a teleconference type thing for remote learning?
I don't know.
As far as I know, I don't think so. Not the way you're thinking.
Because this is a lot of money for phone, right? I mean, for phone service is not $12,000 a year.
Connor, if you, I'm gonna show you.
I've looked at the phone budgets for all the town stuff, and it's not that high. And I'm sure is there also a separate, we had a phone line, or before.
Go here, it
You can
says,
call from it.
do
I think
you
it's
want
under executive.
Zoom conferencing?
Yeah, I see like a cell phone in there. It just seems like we spent a whole bunch of money to get Zoom and everything to address COVID. Oh, here it is, telephones. It's on page 26. So, there's 12,000 for telephones and 13,000 for network software, and then the proposed budget I'm still seeing $6,000 for telephones. I mean, do you guys have an elevator? That would account for one telephone
Yeah, I
line.
think there are some emergency lines in the building that are hardwired
Elevator.
phones. I'm not sure how many lines are left in the building, but we did have
There's one,
hardwired.
we just had a
phones.
manifest for the repair of the telephone and the elevator.
So there's
Yes.
one landline?
And we have to have a copper line in order to have fax, I believe. Does that make sense?
Faxes
Yeah,
go
that's
through the
old though,
internet
right?
at this point.
Yeah.
If you're
So-
saying we have a copper line for something, though.
Sure,
They-
well, the
that's
copper
all
line
the
would be for
elevator.
That was
the
just
elevator
obsolete.
problem.
Elevator.
So my question would be, if we have one copper
Fire
line
alarms might be
and it's for the
separate.
elevator, even if we have two, if it was one, then that's $490 a month. So like something doesn't add up here. How are we paying $5,900 for telephones and then also $12,000 for Zoom phones? Like, you get like 20 grand here for phones.
Maybe you can help us with that.
I've asked about the phones every year, and we've gone over this, so it's up to you to explain how we're getting $20,000 in phones.
The board needs to get more details
I think,
on tech
yeah.
in general.
Understand
That's
that
an
better.
area we've asked for.
So if there's any more tech, if we could maybe get some questions for tech, because I think that, I don't want to speak for like school reps here, but I don't think we are technological.
Yeah.
We did
No, I
not,
agree.
put these things in the budget. So if there are specific questions,
So-
I think we could write those down and bring that
Yeah,
back to
so
our
my
tech
two
director.
specific questions are, one, why is it costing $6,000 to have like one or two landline telephones? That seems super excessive. And then the second question would be, why are we paying $12,000 for Zoom video phone things? We could be using, the regular phones, we could be using a cheaper VoIP service. I mean, you can get VoIP lines for like $10 a month, easy. There's
Yeah, Google
$12,000,
Meet.
huh?
Google Meet serve that same purpose?
Well, no, just voice,
Voice over IP.
just over
Yeah.
IP, just regular phone lines, meaning.
I wrote down your questions.
Thank you.
I think also the tech replacement equipment.
Replacement equipment. Okay, right there,
I mean,
yep.
there's,
What line
Big-
are you, John?
so
Page-
that's the
page
line
19.
above it,
19.
222, 5, 57, 38. All right, and I mean, there's explanation here for all the, I assume it adds up to the amount, but it seems like, we had budgeted basically 22,000, we only spent 9, then we budgeted 10,000, and now we're budgeting 41,000. So it's like, we've been basically having 10,000 in there a year, kind of, and now we're doing a huge increase. So it just seems like, could we level that out somehow? Or what? It's a big chunk all at once.
Looking for a long-term plan.
Right.
What can we hold off a
Like
year?
six
and lower
access points for the Wi-Fi, it's 24,000 right there. You know, a new server, 10,000 for a new server.
We're looking to go cloud-based for everything.
Well, yeah, but that's.
So why are you buying a server?
No, the server's probably needed for the SAU stuff.
I think, I will say, in all candor, we want more information as a board on the tech.
On some of these tech
Yeah.
pieces,
So
'cause
Yeah.
we're waiting to see the complete list of software and get more detail, so.
Yeah, if everything's going cloud-based, you don't need a server.
So
The goal.
I think if I could, the 23,940, is that for the Chromebooks for grade 5?
No, that was for the access points, I
So
believe.
what is the,
No, it says 23.
No, 23,940 was for the Chromebook.
that's
That's for the
for,
Chromebook?
so
Whatever goes first.
that's,
So what are the
After.
licenses with the Chromebooks?
they come with a license, like when you,
You have to purchase a license
it's
for
like
the
a
Chromebook.
Google.
It's called a perpetual license, so you get access to all the,
you go.
Their cloud, they pay
yeah.
the Google
Okay.
stuff.
for access.
So I believe that was presented to purchase Chromebooks for students, right, in grade 5.
Yes.
And then those students would have that same Chromebook for 4 years, because they have the lifespan. So that was proposed to us, but again, I think some of these things are still being discussed at the school board level as well.
So these Chromebooks, my math, there's 58 students in that grade, so that's about $413 per Chromebook. Do you allow students to use their own laptop if they have a better one?
No.
No? Okay.
Not with access in the building with the,
That's the issue.
They could hack into the system, Tom.
well, or bring
That's how you
in-
learn.
Corrupt, well, I was gonna say, or you can corrupt you can corrupt the system if you bring, there's,
No more screensavers on them, effective today. Somebody did something bad.
On Chromebooks?
Yeah. It sounds like my screensaver went away. Pink screen now.
I didn't even know that.
I didn't either.
Oh, there you go.
the news.
Somebody was learning.
Somebody's learning.
So hopefully we'll have some more,
Okay, so
Just
probably
for you on
skip some
some
of
of
these
this
tech
tech
ones
stuff.
now and see what else comes out.
yes.
Page 20's positions. The bottom of the page are for us to be in compliance, our district audit expenses. That's our engagement costs were significant for our audit. Those are just reflected increases.
They send us the contracts.
Sorry, so it goes up 50% 1 year and then another 33% the next year.
That's the engagement letter that they sent us.
I mean, that's an unsustainable growth rate.
We actually, in all honesty, pushed back. and,
We
I-
signed a letter.
I had signed a letter, the board agreed to, and I had signed a letter of agreement with them. Then apparently, they didn't get it, so they sent another one a few months later when they were getting ready to commit to the engagement.
And I said, oh
And when I
no,
saw
we
it,
have a
I was
signed
like,
one.
oh, right. So, we ended up keeping the lower piece. So we do watch it, but.
I think that that's what part of the increase might be, because we got by without one this year. So
Because we pushed it back. But we have had a lot of accounting issues, and I think the auditors are maybe having to expand their scope a little bit, because the cutover wasn't as clean as it should have been at all from SAU 44. So we're honestly paying the price.
For the attorney and negotiator, last year spent $32,000, but that was a CBA year
next year's a CBA year.
for the paras.
Oh, so that's the 15 to 30 anticipated jump is the, okay.
So the negotiator, can you explain that?
An attorney comes to the table for negotiations when they bring the UNICEF director from NEA.
Can you
And they
use Tom?
represent the school?
Tom?
Yeah, I'll do it for
Okay,
free.
I thought you said Kenny.
And I'll do a better job.
No, can you use
Oh, can
Tom
he
as the
talk?
negotiator?
We wouldn't have any paras left.
Because whoever you're hiring is not worth the 15 grand.
Have the lower tax rate.
But they're supposed to represent the school, well, the taxpayer.
May
Right.
I ask
Honestly,
about,
We've only brought them to the table once, and that was just because we didn't have enough of the services the first year to do it. So we've only had to bring them once. We will refer to them and talk to them as needed, but we don't.
And that costs us $15,000?
There's all kinds of other things that they have to.
Okay, I just assumed,
They pull together all the legal
Legal
paperwork
stuff,
probably and
yeah.
everything too.
Even when they don't come, they review.
I assumed that was the, because it looks like it's 15, 15, 15, and then sometimes it's 30, and I was assuming that the 15 was when there's a contract that needs to be negotiated.
Well, there's other things that they do for us though, too, not just negotiations. Like they'll look at other contracts for us.
Yeah, they should get on this school district audit expenses one. Make them work for
Can
their
I ask
their
about
money.
strategic planning at the top of the page? Just what those expenses are?
Yeah.
Initiative that we really want to have, where we have an official strategic plan. It should help set the direction for the district for several years. And it will have community input, so you'll have outreach, you'll have.
So you'll be doing,
feedback,
would that be surveys? Okay,
surveys,
great,
like
thanks.
Face-to-face outreach and facilitated meetings and feedback from the community about what they'd like to see in their school,
Great, thank you.
so.
I'm surprised I skipped right over that because it
How do you
says
not?
zero.
Ah,
It
you
says
were looking at the wrong
0%.
one.
Is there a way that you
Well, I got
can?
it.
I'm assuming that's because it was zero before,
zero, yeah.
right?
Infinity if
So
you
is
do
there a
that.
way to make that? Can you make it say INF or not a
NA,
number?
not-
NA, not a number, anything other than zero? Because my mind goes right over the
To the
zeros.
right, I might be able to get something in there.
Yeah,
The spot that says
New.
blank.
I might.
because with a budget this big, I
I've
scanned
skipped over
scanned
that
that,
myself. I
that
know
column.
exactly what you mean. I've done it myself.
Dividing by zero error.
Yes, error. Whatever that one, that Excel pops up at you.
It was in Excel, I mean, it's color coded, you could see anything that was done as new.
So
Well,
the
not on the
money,
previous
You
line.
can't put it on the previous budget because it wasn't there.
so the money for outreach from last year's budget, what line was that in?
Got it.
Money for outreach.
We had a little bit of extra put in under school board area.
Maybe the expense
We
line?
wanted to do, outreach and communication because of the new SAU and everything. But thus far, we haven't spent anything.
I remember talking about that.
I thought that got added deliberation, didn't it?
No, there's the advertising
showing.
savings.
I think it was on 2310, 55, 90, but there's not a note.
Page 20.
That's the line that,
The one from-
an additional 3,000 in our current budget.
So that's the 23 to 24 jump is the, oh, I see.
Support
Yeah.
expenses.
I'm with you, I just, you were.
Yeah,
further
and I
than
think,
that.
yeah, the 3,000 too.
Yeah, that's the
Work on
line with the 3,000.
I got a question. As superintendent, you're like top dog, like you're running the show, right?
In theory, Tom.
Right. So, I mean, are you not qualified to do the strategic planning yourself?
I'm
mean-
capable.
So why can't you do the strategic planning? It seems like you would already know all of this stuff. It'd be easier for you to do it than to explain it all to somebody.
Well, it's the
Did-
outreach.
Didn't you say it was the outreach? Yeah, surveys and so to get public feedback. Is that right?
If you do surveys and things, you gotta get them
Compiled.
compiled and the data back out.
I've been quite busy right now.
On page 20, also advertising and legal notices, is that something we're going to be able to get rid of that entirely since we're no longer required?
The line got moved. It was a wrong object code.
Oh, okay, sorry.
So it got moved into that.
We still have to do it. We
I
have
was
to
afraid
pay
to look
post-
under. Okay.
We what now?
We have to pay
Legal
to
notices.
post,
Stuff in the
Deliberatives
newspaper
and
stuff.
public
yeah, you
hearings.
go to newspaper, like for the deliberative session, for any.
She made it sound like we don't have to do that anymore. That was,
That was my,
It says
The line
Line
moved,
was
so
moved.
it zeroed out.
Okay.
but it's-
Yeah.
it's located.
But
So we're,
The state requires certain things to be posted.
now the state just require, I don't think they
But I did-
specifically say newspaper, right? It just has to be, does it?
Do they?
No, I thought that had just been.
Just
General
changed.
Circulation
Why
or something?
did I get
Just
that?
changed
For the
this year?
election stuff
To what?
was rescinded, so I don't know
Right.
about.
Oh,
But
that's why.
I'm not sure if the
Right,
school
'cause
stuff
they-
that
It
you can
was
post
rescinded
online.
for,
Okay, it was the election stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
right.
You
But for elections, that was
Check.
rescinded.
check to see, because it was
It might
rescinded
have
for
changed.
election stuff, so it may have changed.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, honestly, we could put it in other places and we'd reach more people than the Union Leader.
Right.
They calculated they have like 140.
But that did change for
We did
elections.
just-
10 times
Yep.
as many people.
How many people in Nottingham
For
get the Union
adequacy,
Leader?
we did just check.
How many people get the Nottingham like
We'll have to.
alerts?
What a shame.
Yeah,
We have some sort of
it
Nixie
changed for
alerts or
election
something,
stuff,
right?
so-
Yeah,
How many people are on
Coming your
that?
way
I don't know how many.
recently.
Gotta be more than
Recently,
200,
yeah.
right?
You would
Sorry, I
hope.
wish I knew more about it,
It was
but
pretty recent,
I
yeah.
don't know, a lot of people don't know about it.
I just know, like, as a town, a town and school, we're spending like $15,000, I think, a year on
Yeah,
these
so it-
notifications to
yeah.
Union Leader.
Right, I mean, obviously the different
Crazy.
functions and things have different rules, but, you know, you would
it
think
would
that
make
one would
sense.
be
Yeah, it would
pretty.
make sense if they got rid of that across the board.
Right.
Okay, thanks.
It's not, it's not cheap.
No, those are expensive.
It goes up by a lot every year too, because I
Yeah.
think they're getting less and less.
Right.
Now, if it's not required, they'll get even less.
Yes.
All right, are we good on 20?
I think so. We got a bunch
21.
of pages to go yet.
So on page 20, we're on 21, right?
Yes.
Okay, so on page 21, business administrator, the accounts payable, bookkeeper, some other items like that have been moved to the 2500 function code because they are fiscal services or business office. So it is a different function code.
So I consider this all cleanup from SAU 44 stuff.
Some of it, yes.
And continuing to want to align with our auditors and
Right.
And state
looking for
reporting.
information.
How are we looking on the whole SAU thing? Is it saving us money? Are we breaking even? Is it costing us?
I think the last amount that we had to pay to SAU 44 was closing in on 700,000, and that hasn't cost us that yet.
So we're doing good?
Saving money so far.
It was a good move? And we got people looking after the old town hall, so that's good.
It's actually not, yeah.
The old town hall is gonna have to have maintenance on it one way or the other.
No idea.
When lines blow up and you flood the place, you know where they're at.
But, I mean, just.
Bathrooms are working again,
Well,
right?
at least now we know when a pipe bursts, right? And it doesn't sit there all week.
That's a conversation for another.
Yeah, I know, I know.
Oh, boy.
That's what we
When
had. That was
you
the top
walk
one.
through there, it's pretty bad.
Occupied buildings cost
Yeah.
less usually to keep
Yeah.
up than unoccupied, oddly enough, so it's good that it's getting some
And
usage.
the work that they did in there, you know, the town paid for most of it, but the school district put in 50,000, and it looks nice and clean.
In that area.
We'd like you to come see what we've done with it.
I've seen it, it's nice.
That's good, thank you.
The outside.
It doesn't look old. You know, it's just a modern office.
Oh, God.
They're keeping out the worst bugs.
Or going upstairs.
Still got the jail
Ooh.
cell upstairs.
Have you been in the upstairs of the old part?
I've been up there, I know, because I'm gonna be honest, I think that place is a little haunted.
There's a
Oh.
spirit box,
Oh.
but other than that.
So I didn't
That's
see
some
jail
zhuzh
cell
to
or
the
anything,
town.
but I didn't go to every room. Like, it was got a little weird vibe.
Yeah. Okay.
Other than
Upstairs is
that,
creepy.
Anything on page 22?
Wait, Mike, you want us to move on?
Spirit hunting payroll.
I know, I'm getting punchy.
Yeah, hour 3 is getting bad.
Yep. I turned into a pumpkin, that's for sure.
Why I took them all.
I see a lot of
I
zeros.
wish I did.
You gotta watch out for those zeros.
Yeah, it's true. Throw you.
So you cleaning, for example. Are we on 23 now?
Yep.
yep,
Oh.
Watch out for the zeros.
Yeah, because there is a new one for the SAU cleaning.
Yes.
Well,
Makes sense.
that's probably important.
Employee retired.
I don't think they're actually coming that much. We put it in for 150 a week, but
For the cleaning?
We're checking it out. We don't think they're always really coming.
Are you using the same service as the
Yeah.
town and the library? The town and the library have two separate ones, and we
Right.
checked that they didn't
Ours
want
is-
to work together or something.
Ours is honey.
Honey, that was, yeah, honeydew.
Me too.
And I think we had checked with the library, that in that one, we tried a couple different companies initially.
Yeah, I actually was
Yeah.
waiting to meet people initially and,
Because-
yeah, so.
It would seem the people that come to clean the town hall could just go across the
Right,
street.
they got a new person or company too.
Company.
It's a company, yeah. I don't think they're doing a stellar job.
Okay.
Go look at the, floor in the kitchen.
They've only been doing it for
We
2
try to
months,
chip
3
in
months.
Oh,
here and there.
all right, I'm being too harsh.
Scott stops by in the morning, grabs our trash, and
Our custodian.
Travel, farther on down the page there, so you went up.
So that travel is for the superintendent, travel for, there's contracted two
Two contract-
conferences. We estimated at 2,500 per conference, and the other 5,000 is for mileage. We're going to conferences in Concord, if she has to go to Dover, if she has to meet in
in
Manchester.
district.
That's a lot of driving.
It's a lot of miles.
It's 20,000 miles?
Estimated, just put an estimate in. No, it's not, it's also the national conference and the state conference. The state conference is at the Mountain View Grand. The national conference this year is in San Diego.
So it's airfare to the conference. That San Diego one is new for us, as part of the contract. And then just mileage from the SAU to the school.
Oh, this is written into the contract?
Concord.
And it was written into the previous superintendent's contract as well.
This is the cell phone, that's for you as well? There's a cell phone line here? That's a pretty expensive cell phone plan.
It's my own cell phone. And then I get $50 a month. But I'm going to be getting a cell phone versus
Using her own
using
personal
my
cell
own
phone.
personal cell phone.
Yeah,
So you gotta buy the phone.
that'd be a good idea.
We just haven't gotten to it. We're gonna do it on Black Friday and didn't do it, but
Anything else on 23? 24.
All right, function code 24, sorry, page 24, but also starts with 24, yeah. 24 is the school administration. Function code 2400.
Oh, we got another dues and fees for SAU administration. Where are those ones going? That's a lot.
That's a lot.
based off salaries, NHSAA and AASA. Based percentage of our salary.
New Hampshire School.
Administrators
Administration.
The National Association of School Administrators.
So this is, sorry, can you explain this a little bit more?
It's like New Hampshire School Principals Association,
Yeah.
except New Hampshire School Administrators Association. Like the New Hampshire School Libraries Association,
Yeah.
or.
That one
guidance
cost
counselors.
$83. This one's costing
Guidance
four,
counselors.
five, almost $5,000.
It's a combination of associations.
Sure, that's still like 10 times as expensive.
ASCD.
What are we getting out of this? What are we getting out of our $5,000?
That's where I go follow legislation, go and speak on behalf of the school district, the legislative committee, the professional development committee, to bring professional development to the whole state, the Kidder Law Conference. With those associations, it's a season ticket to go to all the best practices in personnel, the Kidder Law Conference, the best practices in social emotional learning, equity. There's 2-day conferences throughout the whole year, as well as the spring conference.
So the membership gets you discounts on,
It's a season ticket. It's membership and a season ticket included in that price.
Right, what are the taxpayers getting for this $5,000?
I bring all that information back to the
qualified
district.
professional.
The SEL and equity stuff?
And it's my professional development. I have to have so many hours every 3 years. That's how I go and get my professional development. Just like the teachers can get their, was it $4,000 worth of coursework a year?
Are there free ways to get educational credit hours?
I can get, just like teachers, I can get credit for committee work. But to get fresh ways, that's why I go and get the latest.
So it's not mandatory to pay $5,000 for these ones. These continuing education credits could be obtained for free through other sources?
I can get professional development other ways, yes.
Okay,
Just like
great.
teachers can too.
Yeah.
But that's my version of professional development. I don't need a degree, I have a doctorate. So I don't need to take coursework. So I go to national conferences, I go to state level conferences to collaborate with my peers to bring back the latest information for our district. And that's common throughout the state. Superintendents go to the conferences and the national conference.
So we got a new principal too, right?
Yes, we did.
How's he working out? Or she? I don't know.
You do the budget.
The former principal, assistant principal is the principal.
Mr. Holrich.
So it looks like it decreased salary.
Which one?
Right?
The
Because he's
assistant?
a newer principal.
It's a new person. Speak which?
And then so we hired a new vice principal?
Oh, salary
Is
principal?
that Nate?
Student
Right, it's a new
is she,
person.
Okay.
who's
What happened
about
to
to
Nate?
receive her certification.
That's
as
on
He was
this
a
was
business,
down.
wasn't he a
And her
business
title was
administrator?
Person.
It's like student services or Nate?
We have a student service director that was new when we became independent or our own district, so because we shared a student service director with the other two towns.
So there's been a lot of turnover then.
Well, a lot of additions.
Almost
We
complete.
added our own student service person, new principal. And he moved up from his position, so he had to backfill what he had, so. That's a great team there now, really good.
Anything else on 24? 25.
All the prescriptive ones.
Nothing's,
Good on 25? 26?
So the principal's not covered under the CBA.
They are not, no.
So is there a reason that the teacher retirement rate is the same for the principal?
Certification.
It's certified professional. He has to hold certification to be a principal.
And that sets the retirement rate
It does.
through the state?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay.
Right, because that goes through the state, it's not part of the.
So why is the one, so the secretary is not a certified, so that's why that's 13 instead of
Yes.
19? Okay, all right, I gotcha.
On page 26,
Yes.
line item towards the top, course reimbursement non-compens,
Non-compensation.
9,000, then it was pretty low, 2230, and then it's back up to 9,000. What is that line?
That is, I believe it's a tuition reimbursement.
So if people use it, then it's there. Then.
So how can it be, sorry, how is it reimbursed but also not compensation? Seems like an oxymoron.
Yeah.
Well,
They-
it's,
they don't get
it's no
the money.
FICA.
There's not FICA, there's no retirement that comes out of it, it's the district will pay for the course.
This is like continuing education type thing? In
Like
pursuit
you
of-
mentioned earlier about the course reimbursement, sorry, the courses that teachers need for, to get, to the next level, right, that's what that is.
Do they take FICA out of other ones?
No, not this one, because they,
Well,
they-
no, not out of this one, but,
No, that's why it's called non-compensation.
right, but on other course reimbursements, are there FICA taken out someplace else?
I don't think you can.
No.
Well, that's why, so why does it
It's
say
not part of their
non-compensated?
it's not part of their compensation package.
Oh,
It's a.
So this is for the principals and the assistant principal.
okay.
I'm double checking right now. That's all I went too far.
Do you think course reimbursement is enough
No,
note in
this
that
is
to
something
remove
else.
whatever the
Well, right, that's what I'm like, is
non-compensation?
that just adding confusion?
Can it just say course reimbursement for whoever it's for?
We're all hung up on non-compensation.
Hey,
I am
just
anyway.
adding confusion.
Professional coursework for employment agreements.
I think it's just saying the non-compensate,
It's the
whatever is
compensation part.
confusing to people, so they're wondering what the
Is
non-compensation.
I'm guessing, is it for people that we want to take trainings such as clerical staff, people that aren't under, that non-professional staff?
I thought he just said is this for the
No, we're
principal
trying to figure
assistant?
out
I was,
what-
I was,
Yeah,
No,
this is
he's
trying to
not
figure
right.
out.
I wasn't right.
Okay.
410.
We'll figure that out, I'm not positive yet.
Yeah,
Okay.
because right,
Yeah, that's a question.
the title seems a little confusing.
It is, and it confused me.
Okay, we understand it's course reimbursement, but for the whole.
Yeah, because we have PD for
nothing
principal,
else.
assistant principal,
Mhm.
and I know where the other line is for PD for staff and paraprofessionals. I'm thinking it must be for training, like if we wanted to send the administrative assistant for training on our Tyler software system or something like that, but I'm not positive. I wanna make sure we know what that's for.
Yeah.
Last year. it
My
was
understanding-
coursework for employment
My
agreements.
understanding from prior being on the budget committee was that was actually for the principal and assistant principal, if they were taking coursework to study, taking college courses to study, the district reimbursed them for those courses. So it's not professional development.
For PD.
Yeah, it's-
Yeah.
Versus a
it's actual
workshop.
academic.
It's
It's
coursework.
academic for them to get, whether, I don't know what the
It's
designation.
coursework versus a workshop.
Right.
It's academic, so
And last
credits.
year's
Does that make sense, John? Does
Yeah.
that sound familiar?
We
But I'll
should probably
definitely,
check
if
it.
that's the
We
way it
gotta
works
change
out,
the
I'm definitely gonna
wording.
change the title of that, make it
Thank you.
more understandable.
Coursework and workshops.
Professional coursework per employment agreements is what the previous note.
Yeah.
That's
So-
helpful.
And it went up quite, it's like up and down, back up, so.
Well, it depends on, because I know again, this was from 3 years ago, it was used fully 3 years in a row because the current principal and the vice principal were taking classes.
Right.
And I have a feeling that's because he was leaving.
Certified.
And he's already done, and now you've got a new principal and vice principal, so.
Right.
And it'll be hit this year because the assistant principal is getting her principal cert.
Right.
Right.
Okay. Thank you.
So this next line here, contracted services, copier, lease maintenance.
Yes,
That's going up almost 40%.
yes.
And so, well,
$4,000 for the laser printer agreement and toner maintenance. And also $650 is for the toner and the office equipment. It's all under that one.
so I have to ask, with this one going up 40%, like almost $5,000, and you were saying that the cost of the paper has gone up a huge percent, and that's $10,000, and there's some other graph paper thing that's like $6,000, and I'm sure there's some other paper things in here. What is the school doing to reduce paper consumption? I mean, every student apparently has a laptop. And I'm sure you've got like projectors or screens in the rooms. So, I mean, it seems like this is becoming more and more expensive, and it's a 20th century thing that maybe we should find ways to wind down.
We did meet with Conway Office Products.
We have a follow-up
Bill
meeting
did
in
last
about,
week.
I think about two or 3 weeks. We have a follow-up and also follow up with another company as well to find out what our options can be.
But the cost of it.
Yeah, that's lower the cost. I mean, the consumption and the
Correct.
reliance on it. Like identifying things that are being printed that maybe do not need to be printed.
Well, yeah, we're also keeping more track, well, I shouldn't say more track, better track of what is actually being printed. Because maybe they're printing things that doesn't really need to be printed.
Right.
So,
And paying attention to that a color copy is 5 cents versus a black and white is
which is
.005.
And also, if you're printing records and then storing them physically, that's also very expensive compared to keeping them all electronic. I don't know what percentage
Yes.
of this is things that get kept as a record and what are classroom handouts, but it seems to me that this is a very expensive thing that is becoming much more expensive.
And then we feel really guilty when we tell them that, and then
yeah, we do it ourselves.
Tons of paper.
But I know,
Trees.
part of the reason why I went up higher was because the laser printer agreement, that 4,000, that got added to it, and that's the best line for it. I believe there were more printers, like individual printers, not copy machines, but printers that were placed in the school.
but we're cognizant of it and having those conversations for people to be thoughtful and think twice before you print.
Doesn't the copier work as a printer essentially? Can't you just send documents to it?
It's the location, and I guess also the printers are kind of old. The copiers are older.
But the copier's leased, right?
Copier is leased, yes, but when you get a new copier, I think,
You have to sign a new lease and it goes up.
Right, right, yeah.
Yep.
So of course it goes, you know, yeah.
Yeah,
You can't-
correct.
Can you save money just by buying your own copier?
then there's the maintenance that goes along with it.
Right. Right.
Especially with so many different people using the copiers. So you're kind of,
Yeah, they break.
Kids still
jam.
sit on them?
Jammed all the time.
as far as I know.
That's what I was doing, like copying my
Copy your face.
Office
All right.
party.
Again, let's look at the telephone line
I
and
have
see.
that as a question
Yep.
as well. yeah.
Postage, what are we mailing?
There can be, I don't think this is IEPs, but if they have requests for report cards being sent home, any records transfer from one school to another, those can be larger.
Do we really need $3,000? It looks like in '23 we spent $540.
Right.
But the year before, we spent 9,200, and I can't speak to it.
9,200?
No, no, no.
2,900.
No, that was the budget.
Oh.
That was the budget.
That was the budget
Yeah,
for
yeah,
that.
And it
yeah.
only got
Sorry.
spent 540, so
I'm fading, I apologize.
that's fine.
Yes, so I'm wondering why the budget went up,
Well done.
considering we underspent by a
Yeah, quite a
lot.
bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, can we reduce that?
2,000.
Postage,
I mean, even if it went down to 1,000, it would seem to,
Makes sense.
This looks like, looking at previous actuals were 3,159 and 21.
How much confidence do you have in these FY '23 unaudited actuals?
In terms of what kind of confidence, so I think, like, I think the numbers are right, maybe some of the numbers could be put to a different account lines.
That was like last year though, right?
It was this just past year.
It was the 2022-2023 year,
Yes,
right?
Yep.
Well, it
Okay,
was-
so that year is done.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, we're using those
5 months
actuals,
ago.
but they're unaudited, so I'm just wondering,
Right.
are you confident in those numbers, or is there some uncertainty that might be, something didn't get accounted yet?
I think there's some uncertainty.
Yes,
So-
we're still getting some bills in from last year here and there
And
that are
unfortunately,
hitting this
This
year's
year's.
budget
Yeah,
because
so
we didn't
I'm
receive them.
just wondering sometimes if these actuals might look low because we haven't,
Yes.
or even high because we've assigned things to the wrong thing.
Yes.
The auditors haven't gone through fully, we haven't finalized it.
Right.
Presumably postage is through like a metered service or something, so that would probably have shown up by now, yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, that's another place that we could probably reduce that line. And does the school have electronic ways of communicating with all the parents? Like emails, I'm assuming?
On Elma,
So maybe just identifying ways things can be done electronically versus mailing, only when necessary. Same comment with printing, I'm assuming that's just things that are being mailed.
Yeah.
Yeah, why is that different? Why is that different than the copier, lease, maintenance, and
Printing?
printer, and also paper that we also have
Like
elsewhere?
envelopes with the school logo on it,
Yep,
stuff like that, that'd be printed.
gotcha.
Or if
Oh,
it's,
so it's like a
or
pre-purchased type of thing that's
kinda, or it could
for.
be a mass printing, like we have to outsource it.
Oh, okay.
Oh, right.
that seems low then.
It does, yeah.
For the printing?
Yeah, if you're like buying letterhead or mass printing something,
business cards, student handbooks.
yeah, I mean, that's
Seems
only,
like
that seems really low.
like a big
Well, then
deal.
they've already
A
moved
lot
a
of
lot of
that's
stuff to
printed at the school
electronic,
though,
I
I
guess.
think. The, like the handbooks and the
We print very
graduation
few
stuff.
of them. We try to have them electronically,
Yeah.
so we can change them in lifetime. I'm thinking about the printing. It might be things, I mean, postage, excuse me. It'd be things like certified letters, discipline letters, hearings, or things that we need people, certified signatures.
But I guess to the point that you're not spending that much, so why would you budget it? And if you are spending that much, would it make sense? Because you have a meter at the SAU, and the SAU is much smaller with the
Yeah,
school
theirs hasn't been working lately, so they've been coming over.
to use yours. So would it make sense for them to have a meter rather than, because there's no, unless, is this a meter? This postage amount is from a meter at the school?
Is it meter at the school?
Okay.
It just hasn't been working.
Does the meter save us money over just having a giant roll of forever stamps?
Oh, it definitely saves money if
Yeah.
you're sending, yep.
Yeah, I think some of that, you get some discounts if it's really lightweight, if it's postcards, stuff like that. It's purchased.
How is supplies and forms jumping up 200 and some %?
Yeah. Sorry. I knew you were gonna ask that, 'cause I saw that same time you did.
What page?
And maybe
are you
that's
on?
what part of
Page
the
26.
printing part
Page
that.
26.
I think that's where some of the print, some of the printing went to.
Oh, okay, that
Are these
makes
like
sense.
That would
Scantron
make more
forms?
sense, Yeah.
If we have a change in administration, I'm guessing they might have had to have changed forms.
All the letterhead, all of the,
Discipline
Right,
forms,
right, so that's, right,
Right,
so if that's,
okay.
triplicate
if
forms.
those two lines kind of go together,
Yeah.
That makes more
maybe they
sense.
should, yeah, what's really the difference between those two lines would be kind of nice to know.
Okay. Between the supplies, forms, and printing.
Right. Also, the new equipment line. What do we need?
It's just 1,000.
Oh, well, I know it's just 1,000, but that should be a zero budget item.
No new equipment?
Okay, so then, you said the new equipment,
It's not there.
Right. Hmm? There's no note, that's why I was asking.
Yeah, maybe we should just put it to $1 then.
Right,
It's 2 lines. Are they different?
well, one's new furniture and.
Yeah, one's a furniture.
Right.
One furniture, one, yeah, sorry.
Looks like they want to buy a chair.
Basically, what are those
Equipment.
two items? I mean, really, we should know what those are, because they should be like zero budget items. And let, you know, zero,
okay, so, let me see here, new equipment, just new equipment. It is, 24, looks like sound equipment is what the note reads.
mhm.
And then new furnitures and fixtures is furniture for the assistant principal. So it
Her
could be-
desk is very old.
That's $100.
$100?
She's buying
Wait, a new
half of a
desk
chair, like for $100.
That was.
build it yourself.
If she wants a $100 desk, that's very
It's gonna
reasonable.
be more than $100
I had an employee ask for like a $500 chair.
This thing's like cardboard.
Okay, anything else on 26?
Probably a chair.
Good for apartments, though.
Oh, I have a question.
Yes.
Business office consultant.
Okay, so that is the 2500 function code now. So that would be the business office
Oh,
slash.
from somewhere, from.
Yeah, so, I don't know if anybody else wants to speak to
That was
that?
a new line that we're gonna, and it's not necessarily a new line, but it's the 10,000
Yeah.
we're putting on, we put on there as a placeholder, we're gonna be talking about it at our next meeting. So right now, we have a consultant that we brought in. And I guess kind of the quick history of it is, we moved over, we came into SAU, we hired a finance manager, and that person did some training and stayed with us a bit, and then left. So then we had a hiring from MRI. We paid a significant amount of money, and that person stayed. But I don't think we were getting the consistency that we wanted on our books. But then we went a little bit without person, and in early December, like December 5th, we hired a business administrator, and he stayed on until May. But he had some health issues. So we went from May until September without a business administrator. And so we had various other ways that we were getting things done, but one of the things that happened was we had this consultant come in that was recommended by the auditors. And so he did the DOE 25, and he was doing some reconciliation, he was getting the books ready for audit.
Help disentangling from,
Yeah.
The National School Lunch Program,
A lot of things
budget
that-
verification.
Yeah, that just needed to be done. So what we want to discuss now is how sound are we? We've got a business administrator, solid, things are, you know, shoring up, but we don't want to lose this person entirely if we run into an emergency. So how much do we need to put here and talk to this person just in case we need those services?
Well, it sounds like we have competent people now, so we won't need them.
That's part of the discussion.
Yeah, we haven't really discussed that as a board.
He brought us great credibility, with SAU 44 and with Podsick and Sanderson, our auditors.
They recommended him.
In our challenges in the separation, they said, well, we're confident because of who you're working with. We're confident in your books. We're confident in your audit. And I think that that's been extremely beneficial for us.
Stratford too, he went in and he's still working there, and they're putting a line up in their books to ensure that they have some continuity, so everyone is.
For year
trying to-
3.
And they left SAU 44 a year before us.
Yeah, I was about to say, they've been doing this a year longer.
There you go.
They put a significant dollar amount in their budget
Yeah.
for next year still.
So we're all trying to put pieces together on the finance office, and we don't want to take a step back.
We feel good, Tom, but we don't know yet.
You know, one of the reasons our fund balance was so low this year, I mean, it was asserted that, last year, that we would have, we'd have like 400 something, and it turned out being 80. Part of that was that, when they did the research and the consultant looked at it, there'd been like a grant issue where reimbursement had come here, but the money had gone out of SAU 44, so that had to be booked as payable. And we still haven't paid that out yet because we're waiting to see other things settled out. So there's still a lot of.
So we're not disentangled completely yet?
No.
Oh, boy,
No.
okay. Yes.
Thanks. Anything else on 26?
Yeah, what's this new professional development?
That would be professional development for me. For a business administrator.
What are you gonna do with this $1,000?
Get some PD done. It's good. Right now, it's a placeholder number. I gotta figure out what is actually going to make up that number. The $1,000 is rather reasonable and could probably go down to $750, but I gotta see if you'll probably see like dues and fees and stuff like that for some of the memberships, what's included and what's not included.
So you make up the number and justify it later?
Just a placeholder.
Yeah.
He needs training in Tyler, for example. We have modules in Tyler that we're not using because there's been a constant turnover that'll give us more efficiencies, but we don't want to turn those modules on until we have pure data.
Well, surely it must be easy to use software for how much it costs.
Absolutely.
Oh, yes.
We don't want to turn them on and not have pure data in there because that just creates more problems. We want to clean our data up, input proper data so that it spits out proper data.
Yes.
And then the next line on the page 27, cell phone business office, is this cell phone for you then?
Yeah, it would be for me.
Is it normal with the school to have paying for cell phones for everybody in the administration? I don't remember that in previous years.
We've always had superintendent. I think the BAC, we had some people that chose not to, but we had some that did do it. And we've always paid for the student service director, at least out of SAU 44, because they were typically like the second person in command, if you will. So yeah, we have paid for cell phones for 2 and maybe 3.
Is there a reason people can't just use their regular cell phones?
I don't want to give my phone number to the public.
Yeah,
People have to
it's
give out their.
Right.
That makes
And
sense.
if you have data crossing,
Right,
and then
you
there's a
don't-
problem.
But can't you give your office phone number that we're paying like $12,000 for these lines?
Then we're not reachable.
But they have voicemail, they have Zoom voicemail, you can leave a video
During the day,
message.
when I'm traveling to and from the school, other districts, other meetings, they want to talk to me. I'm at a conference, they wait all day and they can't talk to me.
So would it suffice to have a lower cost phone plan here
Well-
that's not $100 a month?
Could we get rid
$50
of
a
the
month.
regular office phones?
You have to buy the phone.
Right, well, we
It's
don't
the
need it.
purchase of the phone, right?
That would be like a $700 phone. If it's just to talk to take calls, you don't need
We're
something
looking
that
at
fancy.
something very reasonable. We're not going to get something fancy, but that's the price of a service plan. We're going to get it as low as possible.
Yeah, I mean,
know
if
what
we
cell
could
phone
get, if
plans
we
you
could
have
get
now.
rid of the regular office phones and just go cellular.
Because the service is good there.
The service is not good there.
No,
I was gonna say,
right,
it's
but-
terrible,
But if
isn't it?
it's if it's on Wi-Fi,
It is not good there.
Terrible. Yeah,
it should be fine on Wi-Fi.
it's not. And it's not in the library
I
either.
don't know, I'm not in there.
Yeah,
so-
I don't know, but
No, I'm in there a lot.
Well, you guys got a technology director, so have him sort it out. Phones should work.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking,
Those kids.
Those are great opportunities for us to explore.
yeah, look into it. 'Cause,
Right.
like,
Yep.
Pure Talk
Yep.
is down like 30, $20, $30, $40 a month, even for the bigger plans.
Trust me, I thought I didn't want a cell phone for the district. I'm like, oh no, just use mine. Then I went to our security training. Nope, I want a phone.
Yeah.
I'm
don't
now
use
willing
your
to
own.
carry 2 phones.
Yep. I refuse, I will not put anything work-related on my phone.
Nope.
Travel, is that for conferences?
That would be $2,500 for conference, because the contract is reached for one conference, and $2,000 for mileage in district and also out of district.
How much is the registration on these conferences?
Depends on what the conference is. But
you-
it's also, that also includes hotel and airfare if it's out of state.
And food when you're traveling. And their guesstimates. It's our first year building the budget. I know that I just booked my travel last weekend for San Diego. It was $353,
What are you going to San Diego for?
the national conference.
Is yours in North Dakota
So
in
that
December?
should reduce. But I also did it through my husband's company account, so it got really reduced, and I'll just get reimbursed.
And what's the benefit to the taxpayers of going to this conference?
Bring back all the national latest and greatest.
We just
and
talked
probably
about all
get you
this.
some-
Just went
We
over
already
this
talked
10
about
minutes ago,
this.
Tom.
Let's stay
Seriously.
another hour.
Anything else on page 27?
And it keeps your superintendent certified. I gotta hold that certification to be your superintendent.
But there's free ways to keep that certification.
28.
Yep.
So salary bookkeeper, that was moved?
Yeah, it used to be in the 2300s.
That's this whole section, huh?
Yeah, the 2500 is all new.
Is the bookkeeper full-time or part-time?
Part-time.
Part-time.
So what's the difference between a bookkeeper and a business administrator?
A bookkeeper just does accounts payable. They maybe, so like they collect bills, they call for bills, maybe accounts receivable, maybe somebody owes us money and they do payroll. I don't do that. I work with the accounting. Accounting and accounts payable stuff is different. I verify her work. I also do adjusting journal entries, make the budget. I am also with learning to do technology and also facilities as well. That also falls under the business administrator umbrella, if you will.
And for auditing purposes, we have to have two people cross-referencing.
Yeah,
Yeah. Someone's got to approve my work and I got to approve her work for checks and balances.
Looks like it's all prescriptive.
Yeah.
Same with 29.
On this GMR, is that just like a broad insurance
It's
company?
no, GMR is guaranteed maximum rate.
Okay.
So what they do is when they're building the budget, they give us your budget for next year is not going to be more than 13.1% over the current year. So even if which is exactly what happened last year, it won't go any higher than that. It could be lower, but it won't go any higher than that.
Based on usage.
And this is from, so does one insurance company cover health, dental, whatever else is? Okay. But GMR covers all?
GMR is a broad term.
Just a rate, a guaranteed rate.
Is that
Yeah.
over $120,000, this estimate to our budget? Everybody statewide, pretty much.
Ours is lower than a lot of other districts.
And last year, we had next to nothing. for-
Yeah, and if they
Really
said it was probably
fluctuates.
should have been around 4 or 5% last year, which would have made our GMR this year around 8%. Because more people are using health insurance now because COVID is over, so they're doing the elective stuff that they're doing. They're going to their doctor's office more.
So it's Health Trust that sets the GMR, so we
Yeah.
use Health Trust
Actually, in
provides the insurance.
It's a different
yep.
buckets of
like a
insurance.
Actually, under the tab health dental rates is the letter that we got explaining how they got with
The
the
pink
GMR.
tab, goes to that.
Scott, health insurance, or is that like, once we're into it, we're kind of want to stick with the same company? Like, would other companies give better rates, I guess, is my asking?
I think it really depends on the plan and also your pool.
Yep.
But there are options to go looking at different plans to see what they offer, or maybe what other companies could offer, but it's a lot to go into. It's not one of those things you can do just for next year. You have
Yeah,
to plan
right.
it out ahead of time.
Maybe that's something we could look
You
at.
have to put out a
for-
bid?
And in negotiations,
Yeah.
and it's also part of collective bargaining.
That's what I was
Yeah.
I was gonna say, it's laid out
Issue.
They
pretty
have one of
much
the
in
best
the,
health insurance in the country, besides the politicians.
I'm sure.
We have a few years past looked at, we had different health providers
Right.
come in. Health Trust does a pool with.
A lot of
with
other
the-
town
with the
municipalities.
law of the municipalities.
Is that something you can put out to a bid?
I guess, I mean, typically they're the best because they are cooling.
So it keeps costs lower.
That's what we've been finding.
Yeah, how long have you guys been using them?
We can go back and look.
We
We've
just
used
did
them a
this
long
You
time.
pretty much,
Last
you
year.
gotta really renegotiate
6
these
years
things.
ago or so, we looked around.
Yeah, might be time to look again, but I mean, we looked last year in Manchester, I know, because they were talking about it, and we stayed with Health Trust. That's what we
Most
got.
school districts and municipalities in the state do.
And you're required to pick one inside the state still? Like, you can't shop across state lines?
I don't know about
They have to
Health
have network in the state, I believe.
But it is also in the collective bargaining agreements, more specifically what insurance
Yeah, we
is.
did make some plan changes too for some more economic.
So it's-
So do you just, you take the CBA requirements and you put them out to bid and you say, you know, what is the, who will bid on satisfying these requirements?
I don't know if it can go.
Because these insurance companies, they just keep raising the rates until you like threaten to go, or
shop, or.
even then
Right.
they'll keep them up. It's pretty much every like 3 or so years, you should really look around.
Anything else on 39?
So on 30, rubbish removal,
Yeah.
Well,
how is
that's
this
something, isn't it? Wow.
practically doubled in 2 years?
We asked the same.
Says they're putting out an RFP.
They're putting out an RFP.
Note to note,
Says they're
Oh, we
putting
had
out an
our
RFP
recycling center.
I don't understand what that has to do with it.
we're getting a bid, looking for a better
to
rate.
lower the cost, because the cost is so high.
Request for proposal?
Yes.
Yes, we use a company.
Who do you guys use?
Rates have gone up significantly.
Who do you use?
What are we using now, do you know?
I think it's waste management. Yeah. I believe it's waste management.
I can tell you though that tipping fees over the last couple of years have gone up.
Right, but they haven't gone up 42%. I mean, we've seen the town's
Oh, no.
tipping fees and what the town pays for,
Those are long-term negotiated contracts.
Yeah.
well, why does the school not have a long-term negotiated
The
contract?
volume isn't
Makes
even
sense.
close.
Yeah.
That's why we're
Just
putting out
found.
We
Yeah.
don't,
RFPs so
we
can-
discovered we don't have
That
one,
was
so,
a
Right.
discovered,
so we're putting out an RFP for a contract.
So we can get that long term.
And I mean, if it's something that the town can, I
Or see
know
if
that
we can
I've
tie
asked
into
this
the
in the past, and
towns.
it's like the town and the school can't get together on these things,
That's
but,
actually
We've
what
talked to
I-
Ellen about that.
can we?
We talked to Ellen about
All
that.
right, because previously I was told, no, that can't be
It
done.
seems possible, I mean, not.
Or a town building.
It's not
Yeah,
impossible. It's
because
just
it
gonna
seems
take
like,
time.
you know, the school and
Well,
the
yes.
recycling center and this building and the old town hall, they're all so close together.
Yeah,
Nice
consolidate.
little shortcut through the back, huh?
I
Right
think
to
it
the-
requires the movement of the track, and it's not just,
Yeah.
so the town doesn't have.
But you get one contract, you get the whole town, right?
Yes.
Like, you should get a
Would be
discount.
so much easier and more efficient.
We're
Yeah.
working on
Bundling.
it. We're putting out an RFP.
They're
Right.
ahead, they're ahead of the game.
We appreciate
We
it.
talked to Ellen about it.
Other
Good
folks
job.
didn't do that.
Yeah.
Be like a compactor like the town has,
For a list of
just at
all
the
of
school.
contracts that we have,
Great.
so we can understand better what's happening. We went and looked at Chester, gosh, I don't know, probably over a year ago now. We found some savings there with things that they were doing. Chester
Oh,
Academy, which is the same.
my husband just started a recycling program there that had gone defunct, and the town is going to come and pick up all their paper.
So they
So that's one
pointed us in direction for some things to save, and we also looked at our contract for propane and saved some significant.
Oh,
money.
right.
So
Nice.
that's a-
Yeah, the
So, yeah, we
propane
were-
contract was good.
Again, having
Yeah.
a little more, when we left the SAU and, the SAU 44 and created our own, these are some of the things we really wanted to look at, these efficiencies and have someone, but because we've had some different people in, especially in the business office, it's really, so the board has really been trying to push to make sure we do have good contracts and we are looking at them and really making sure that we're getting the best rates that we can.
That's the whole point of us moving to the SAU.
And then from the reverse perspective, the question is, is the school doing anything to reduce waste generation? Because I find it hard to figure out how the school's generating $170 in trash a day. Like, you get like some paper, but that should be recycled.
Lunch.
And
Lunch.
lunch,
I guess
sure.
I imagine that's
Boxes,
not-
deliveries, paper goods, common things.
Oh,
Can the school take the papers and cardboards and things to the recycling center?
Yeah, I mean,
If we had a vehicle to do
Right,
so.
there's no-
Right,
yeah,
I was gonna
you'd
say
have
that
to-
would be.
but again, in Chester, they made an arrangement with the town.
I
It's
did
coming
make an
once a week.
arrangement with the town this fall. We had significant cleaning to do out. We wanted to get ready for our building inspection. And my husband and I donated the use of our vehicle for a couple days, and as well as time. And Bill and I gave couple days worth of time, and I think we took probably 10 loads of things to the recycling center. Thank you very much to
Thank
Ellen.
you.
We had a laminated hall pass. And isn't that guy's name Will?
Wayne, wasn't he very friendly and nice?
He was awesome.
I know,
Was
he
We
is.
had the best time, and
Yes.
we put hard work and
Welcome
did
to
a really
Nottingham.
really good job cleaning out some sheds with Scott, and you could really tell that Kevin Smith had been involved in airplane.
Handling.
He'd moved a lot of luggage in his past, and we were able to clean out a lot of the sheds and the trailer and move equipment around and get some stuff that wasn't being used donated, but also out of the way. So yes, they were very good to us and did not charge us, and we have our laminated pass, but we don't have a vehicle to
Yeah,
then take the
I know.
cardboard. And we did talk about that at the board meeting.
Or did discuss if there's something
Do
that
we
we
need a
can
truck? Like, what would we
figure
do?
out.
But can the
We don't
town
have-
send a truck?
Very nice
Dump truck.
Yeah, I mean,
But
that's,
that
but that's what Chester's doing.
Yeah,
The town is
right.
sending a truck to the
I think
school.
that those are
Yeah.
things that really explore of how we could, you know, again, with the resources and, you know, not touching in liability of, we have someone transporting in their personal vehicle.
Yeah, yeah,
like
well,
we,
yeah.
it needs
Right.
to, it needs
It's-
exploration, but, we did bring it up at the board as well.
Well, it's great to hear you guys are potentially working together on this.
That's
Because as much as you're a separate legal entity from the town, it's all our taxpayer
Same money.
money. So
It's
if you
still-
save money, it's great.
Right.
Absolutely.
It's still one pocketbook.
Pocket,
Yes,
Yep.
yeah, absolutely.
Well, and one
All of
community,
ours.
right.
Right.
All right, contracted services building.
Getting there.
Yeah, I see this.
Almost, yeah.
What is a boiler license? Do you get a subscription boiler?
No, it's got dues and maintenances.
In case anyone got burned, you know.
I was like, really?
Really happened.
They're very gullible.
All right. High five.
Holy crap.
All right, boiler
punchy.
licenses to comply with State of New Hampshire Department of Labor, RSA 157-A, New Hampshire boilers and pressure vessels inspection law.
Okay.
There you go.
Wow. That was
This guy's on top of
detailed
it.
explanation.
Hey, in case anyone got burned.
Yeah.
I can't tell you wrong.
Why are we
so.
paying $100 a month to store furniture?
That's what I was gonna ask too.
What?
That was one of the, that is part of the questions that we asked.
Cause we just,
Yeah.
I thought we just rented out the old fire hall, right?
Yeah, you could throw it in the old Grange building probably.
I think it's right now it's because
God,
it's
don't.
located at the school. I think it's transportation issues,
Right.
bringing it over to wherever it could be stored.
Can we just dump another shipping container over there for storage?
I think that's what the shipping container, $95 is.
Oh, well, we should just purchase one then.
Yeah, they're pretty cheap.
Yeah, especially if you don't care what it looks like.
Well, actually, during
Have the kids paint
COVID,
it.
in my experience, they're very hard to get.
Oh, yeah.
So, no, and so I know
What's
that in my past district, that was part of it. We talked about purchasing versus leasing. They were extremely hard to get during COVID. So we ended up leasing one, so maybe now they
think now you can get 'em.
they might be less
be now,
expensive. And that might be why they had done the same thing.
Because I've
People
suggested that
sell
in
them
the,
at Deerfield Fair.
Yeah, I've seen that too.
actually,
C&M.
I can tell you right now,
200
C&M
for
in
20.
Chichester.
Northwood Trucking,
No, way too
Northwood
much of
Trucking
that.
on 4
buy
in
them.
Northwood, they have 20 of them out front,
There you go.
and I'm assuming they'll move them because they're
It'll help
trucking.
them out.
But yeah, I've suggested that in the past when I heard that the locker rooms were just filled with chairs or something. It's like, well, you could put those, if there is legitimate space usage at the school, then you put the chairs in a shipping container for a few $1,000 and now you've got a spare room.
We also want to keep the stuff that's good, but just also get rid of the stuff that's bad.
Right, not
That's
store.
important.
Not just store it for the sake of
Which is what we
storing it.
found,
Put it-
storage
you
of
can put it
broken
in your
things.
in your vehicle and take it to the dump.
But in
your
the town
spare
truck
time.
can take it. Okay, anything else on 31? 30.
Thank you, Mike.
31. 31 looks
31.
great.
Going to 31, folks. Nearly there.
Well,
You can't get over that propane.
But you like your propane rate?
So I'm like, I want that rate.
I know,
Oh my
don't we
God.
all? I know.
I want triple that rate.
You just need 40,000 gallons.
Yeah, yeah. There we go.
Transportation costs are what they are. They're contracted where we are in our transportation agreement, where it's signed. These are actual costs and what we have to pay.
sorry, skipping back, the electricity on the previous page was up 27%. And I know we had already jacked it up a huge amount last year. why is it going up again? Is there a new usage of electricity?
Yeah, we paid 111,000 last year, almost 112.
Didn't rates go back down again last August or
That's
something?
what I thought too, but I couldn't find anything to support that, so I wanted to err on the side of caution.
So we put 120.
The rates ever go down?
No.
I heard that they were gonna go down in August, but I haven't
I heard
noticed.
I heard the
I didn't
same
follow
thing.
up on
No, the bills didn't reflect what they were talking
But
about.
they're always 3 months late on the actual rates to what
Yeah,
you
no, I
use.
remember that conversation this summer. I did not see it in my bill. My rate did not change.
What is the school doing to reduce electricity use? Have you guys, it doesn't look like there's 30 or 40 outdoor light fixtures that seem to be on
I
all
started
night.
to say this, that there's a company, and I can't remember the exact name, gentleman who contacted me, and he goes to districts throughout the country, and he wants to talk to me, and I put him off till we get
Energy-
back from
energy
Christmas.
saving,
Well, two different ones, yeah, for energy savings, they come in for free, and they'll do a,
An assessment.
yeah, so I'm gonna have, I said, I'm really busy today, I cannot do it, he wanted to give me a date, but I am going to have him come in, the board's permission, to do an assessment, if it's free, come on in, do an assessment for us, whether it's retrofitting for light, whatever, make those suggestions.
Did the light
It's just a
fixtures get
government
done in the
program.
parking
We
lot?
did that with, on 2 occasions with the company, and they changed out the lights and went through and did the parking lot. And so, yes, we have done that, you should be interested in here.
So they're all LED now, but they're not on motion sensors.
That's what I'm thinking, that turns them off.
Because the motion sensors would increase safety as well, because then if a patrolman is driving by and he notices some of the lights are on, he knows that someone's been in the area, versus now it's just light pollution all
creature.
night, and you don't know if anyone's actually there.
Food from the food pantry.
And getting our heating system, the new boiler, we're working on still flushing. Like, there's some areas that have some more need for fluctuation, and we're still working on those, so I think that we're hoping to see
Energy savings.
some energy saving costs there as well, and the repair on the flat roof. Looking for some costs there. A lot of maintenance and repairs in the last year, so hopefully we'll be able to reduce some of those lines, but we not prepared to do that yet because we don't have actual data to benchmark and track.
Gotcha.
I mean, last year was miserable. This time of year, all through the winter, horrible. I mean, the boiler, it was just one thing after another, so, and it's still being repaired.
My kids loved it. They got
Things
the
froze
week
everywhere.
off of school 'cause
Yeah.
the boiler kept
Police
blowing up.
station. had-
Is the long-term
Frozen
plan still to pursue solar panels?
All summer.
We got that in our CIP, we're
Yeah,
looking
it
to
went
get
so
some
long
more
this year.
details on it. So we do have a placeholder for that, so we got the one roof fixed, we'll need to get the other one.
The Conservation Committee also recommended that you look into a ground array.
Where?
Okay, which.
Yeah.
Just put it in the wetlands.
Yeah, it can track the sun, so it can be
Yeah.
even more
Doesn't
efficient,
take
and it
up
can be
that,
easier
it's
to
got small
maintain.
footprints.
Oh, those, yeah.
Stuff they had that on
Come in
Flutter
and meet
Street,
them.
didn't
I
they
just
have them on
realized
there
I was
that
thinking about
moved?
dinner, and I was looking at the lines.
Susan.
They just said it's an option to
They're
consider,
more efficient.
if you have room for
Okay, we have a
ground
couple
array.
pages.
Yeah, we can do this, we can do this.
All right.
Any questions on transportation?
Are we on 31?
Transportation's kind of out of our control. For most of the budget's contractual or special education
So
or
you said-
extended school year.
Said mostly out of our control, what are we able to control?
High school.
We don't have to offer high school transportation, but we certainly do not want high school dropouts. We want our students engaged in going to school.
On them drive.
Yeah, how many
Not
drive
when they're
their own
14 and
cars?
Survey them.
15.
We do survey them to know who plans to use the bus, and we provide transportation based on the survey results.
We do carpooling, actually.
Yeah, is there like a carpooling program to like
Parents,
encourage kids to
parents make
carpool
those,
with their
our,
friends?
our bus routes are based off actual data from surveys, and that's how our bus routes are planned.
Right, but if you had a carpooling program, you would reduce the demand, and thus you might be able to reduce the number of buses.
You work in that direction. You could drive kids in the morning.
Good. Buy me a sandwich and some
Parents-
You're gonna have a lot more kids taking the bus.
Parents do carpool, but we don't organize a
You
carpool.
can't do that, no.
That would make us liable for insurance.
Right. And depending on their age, you're only allowed to have one person,
kids
not in the
can't
family.
necessarily drive
That's what we're
other
doing,
kids,
we're
yeah.
allowed to take.
Though they do.
And I think they've actually got more kids taking the bus this year because they added a couple of bus stops. They were nice enough to, and the bus.
The extra bus
Yeah.
was huge.
Relatively, maybe 4 or 5 years old, yeah.
Right.
New to us, John.
So
You
what,
still can't have a lot of stops, because it makes the day, the trip
Right.
too long.
Seven
But having a
seven
second bus
longer-
with the-
for each stop that's not at a juncture, it adds approximately 7 minutes.
Kids are leaving really
Yeah.
early, so.
Yeah.
So the only one on there, the big addition, the huge addition on the bottom of the page is homeless transportation. And when we have a person deemed homeless, that's out of our control, what we have to pay. We might see a reduction in that based on
An
the
agreement between the
means
other
that,
district.
with the other district and
Oh.
means of sharing costs.
so
or
this
how
number
we
here is
transport.
not, this is based on some sort of actual situation.
Yes,
An actual number.
yes.
And so this is somebody that's moved out of the district?
I wouldn't say moved, they were displaced.
Somebody was displaced, so they're
Homeless.
living in another town.
Not, I can't say.
no, you just
Someone
can't
who's
go
there.
homeless.
All right.
Right. But
I'll
the
explain it
district
this
is
way.
responsible
Someone who has
for-
homeless status right now, that
Someone
has to get to
is
school.
residing or living in another town, and we are paying for them to come back to this town.
It could be someone who lived in
Versus-
another town who's now residing with someone here and we share
Correct.
costs.
Yeah.
It's in many different scenarios.
Yep.
It's someone with homeless status. We're working to get that child or children to school least expensively as we can.
And we can't do anything about it anymore.
No.
And it's a good thing to do.
It's a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
Last page for tonight, page 32.
Still my heart.
This is Bill.
No, we're not doing food. As
Oh.
chair of this committee, the father of three,
At the chair, my brain stopped working 45 minutes
This is
ago.
the second night in a row for
Unless you don't
us.
get a
Oh,
second.
you guys are crushing it.
you guys get 3 stars. I'll bring in stickers.
You get all the stickers.
Okay, so last page
one
is
dinner.
self-explanatory.
No, I don't think so. What is transfers to food services general fund?
So, what that is, typically at the end of the fiscal year, the general fund will pay a portion into the food service fund to get it balanced. Because
It's always,
food service should be self-sustaining.
Yep.
So that's the way it should work. But if it's not self-sustaining because your revenue doesn't equal your expenses, the district has to cover the costs.
Which is typical.
Yeah, we have to cover, so we have to move out the fund balance that we have, and so this is,
But this is the piece where usually the food service, which is the next couple pages, is, for us, is normally in part of this budget, but
Yes.
so it's gonna be.
So just taking this, so this is essentially, this is the amount that the food service is expected to come up short.
That
Being
is,
self-sustaining.
that is,
Yeah.
All right, so by my math, I took the $30,000, I divided it by 180 school days and 515 enrollment, and you gotta raise the price of a school lunch by 32 cents.
Except that's if everyone eats a lunch.
Oh, what now?
That's if everyone takes a hot lunch. So
yeah, which they
people
don't.
eat
And then you've got
Not that.
then you've got some that are on free or
some are
reduced.
free and reduced, so
Who
always
pays for
more
the free and
complicated
reduced
than
lunches?
just
The
dividing.
school or the federal
Federal.
government or who?
the federal government versus us, that's in the food service revenue, so you
Right.
can see that information.
Do they reimburse on their own formula or what we say it costs?
their formula.
Their
Therefore,
Okay.
Just based on the
Of course,
numbers,
just
students
for like the
qualify with.
regular.
Do they
fund.
reimburse more or less than you guys are charging for a meal?
It's a good question. I do not know. I can find out.
'Cause it would-
Some
if
days
it
I
is
would-
more, then perhaps the price should be raised to whatever that number is.
Well, I think
Clearly
what we
they must
have
know
to charge
better.
is, that's the state that dictates that, no?
No,
I don't think so.
The school board determines that.
Because it's what? It's like it was like a.
we're
much was it?
increasing it next year.
For the free fee and.
No, not free and reduced, for
Oh.
the cost of
Base rate
of a
or
hot
whatever.
No,
lunch.
but for the free and reduced lunches, is that
That's the
dictated by
state.
the state? That's what I'm saying. So that's dictated by the state, but what the federal government reimburses us might still be lower than what the state's saying that we have to.
I don't know.
that's a good question, though.
I'm sure we're getting reimbursed less than it
Right.
actually costs.
I wouldn't be so sure.
That seems like a fair statement.
I wouldn't be so
that's
sure
why
because
there's
I
a
bet they attach a lot of
30,000.
strings to it. How much does a school
Fire
lunch cost
cheese.
now?
Like special ed.
Well, we just did a worksheet on that.
What?
Wait, hang on, this
We'll
is
get it
food
for you.
service,
It's on
we're not
the
gonna do it this
website.
week.
Wait, she knew it off the top of
Begging
her
us,
head
don't
last
do
time.
it.
Wait a minute, it's on the
Candy
website.
slush.
What was the question? I'm sorry.
We
Oh.
just,
No,
we
it's in the
just did
budget,
it.
30,000.
I could,
It's like,
But,
It's too late, Tom.
yes.
I'm just wondering what the, 32 cents sounds like it wouldn't be that bad of an
Somebody
increase.
look up their child's lunch account.
I don't want to, because my
Like
kid buys way too
$3
much lunch and kills me.
Ah.
I send him to school with the lunch and he still buys hot lunch.
Wait till they're in high school and
Oh,
then get a.
freaking teenager's killing me.
Tom, we'll look it up for you.
Yeah, we
It's too
can,
late.
I can maybe get it to you.
Then he comes home.
I
and
wanna
eats
say it's 279.
That sounds high, but
Oh, no.
Charge?
it was
For
$1.10 when
That's
I was in
really
school.
Oh, no, I think we.
About 5 years ago, Tom? Jesus,
another.
dude.
3-4 years ago.
I still eat there.
Tom,
Yeah.
we can charge up to $3.54. I believe we charge $2.79. The state is costed a meal at $3.54. I believe we charge $2.79. Next year, we're going to $3. And where I pulled that out, I don't know. It might be slightly off, but I think I'm pretty on.
That's enough. I believe you.
And if you're not,
Around $3.
Well, then it sounds like
We'll
you're
never
gonna, it sounds like you'll be close to breaking even then.
like it.
That's great. And then these next 3 lines, these capital reserve ones, those are the ones that get funded through the warrant article?
Yes.
That was just the actuals from.
These are the actuals from fiscal year '23. That's not a budgeted line.
Yeah, they get spent out, but they get populated by the warrant article.
In theory,
Yep. And
if you
then-
have enough fund balance.
Right.
And then with the food services, I looked over this. It looks like it's almost all kind of.
We're not gonna do food service today.
Next
Tom
meeting.
is running the meeting.
We're gonna be done
yep,
at the end of page 32.
Chair, do you need a
yep.
do you need a motion to close the meeting?
So,
It's my ears.
as long as, we can keep going, I'll stay,
No.
but I'd like to make a motion that we stop here.
I would like to
We'll resume on, when we see you guys on the 14th. No,
21st.
21st. So we'll pick up on 32 and a half and food service on the
2 weeks.
2 weeks from now.
If you have
There's only
questions,
2 pages left on food.
I know.
Breakfast
We're
alone is
toast.
$150, and lunch is $2.75, and adults pay $4.25 for lunch and $2.50.
So if you were gonna make that $3, you're spot on getting that to break even.
So we voted to do
This is a
that.
break.
Nice.
if you have questions, if you want to email
shouldn't
them
be
to
bacon.
Bill or to me, we can then respond to everyone what the question was and what our answer
I don't,
was.
are we allowed to
Do
do
not,
that?
yes, you can. Do not hit reply all.
We can't, but they can.
Right.
You
Okay.
can,
They
you
can
can send a
disseminate
question to us. We will say, Tom asked da-da-da-da-da, here's the answer, and we will hit reply all. Do not hit reply all. And that will save us time at this meeting if you have a question.
And they have a list of questions that we're going to compile and those answers.
Yeah, yeah.
That's good.
in the last one, so.
Thank
And
you.
with that excellent note, and thank you so much for your time.
Thank
I'll make a
you.
motion
Yeah,
to
you did
adjourn.
well.
So when are we gonna finish?
Second
the rest of
that,
the
I
pages?
second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? When are we gonna finish the rest of this?
2 weeks.
Document?
2 weeks.
All right.
2 weeks.
21st, we will pick up right where we
Tom,
left
you're
off.
not allowed to look at it between now and then.
Right.